than that. I think in general, the bans this today are going to be pretty standard. BDS like to ban shields as well, but they shouldn't be doing it against Virtus.pro. They're probably going to stick to the good old-fashioned Ying ban, which they will often fall back on when they know they don't have to be banning shields.
No,
Grim
how wrong you are.
How wrong I am. Okay, watch out for that in these first 6 rounds then. BDS might have some cheeky Ying strats that we didn't expect. This could be a Valk, could be a Mira. Tough to say. Will be the Mira coming through. Okay, makes a lot of sense. And then Virtus.pro, again, the Azami would be far and away, the expected pick for VP to take off from the defenders. They don't like playing against Azami. It's the strongest defender in the game, according to the vast majority of pro players. So VP will remove it, despite the fact that they are starting on the defense. We'll get into it. Virtus.pro up against BDS. The winner of this game will make top 8 and play in front of the live audience here in Montreal. The loser plays tomorrow. They're not out, they're not done for, but they do still have the opportunity that will be in a do-or-die game tomorrow to make it to that main stage. I will also say, before we get underway with this game, match holds a little bit more importance for Virtus.pro. A win today will secure themselves a spot in Boston for the 6th Invitational 2025.
We've already seen some teams lock in their positions, even though they weren't present at this event. Furia, the world champions, will have an opportunity to defend their crown in Boston, as while they failed to qualify for the Montreal Major, they have enough points to make it to SI. And with their victory earlier today, Falcons now also taking flight over to Boston. It's a pun. You know what? I'm going to use bird and flying puns for Falcons all the time. You're just going to have to get used to it at this point.
I like them. I think it's fair. We gotta find some bear puns for VP.
We do. And please, God, don't talk about islands.
Well, it shouldn't be too big of a factor in this game. Obviously, Uzis, the man from the UK, the only one who would be representing an island home today. A lot of folks probably were not watching the B stream, but we had a bit of a tech pause island conversation yesterday. Well, assuming we don't fight a tech pause, keep that to a minimum and focus mostly on the game. I warned you about the Ying that could come out from BDS, and we do immediately see it, round number 1 from Uzis. Bree's jumped on the blitz as well. Solotov, of course, here on the glass, hunting for one of these opening picks. It is the top floor bomb site, hunting in through the teller's window. That will likely be the site later on.
Are they hunting?
They're bear hunting.
AR-33, by the way, on Leaky Facts Thatcher is a bit of a stylistic choice. Usually we see the L85 rocked by Thatcher.
Yeah.
AR-33 sees a lot of play on Flores, as it's either that or the DMR as the main options, but this might be a quick push, by the way. There goes a smoke. Pre-Day is in, absorbing an awful lot of damage. No, he and Shaiko have somehow died. Posha taking damage earlier on. The first 2 picks right now favoring VP. Uses off to the races, but doesn't see the Aruni and Posha tucked into the corner by half wall. Solotov and EFAC, the last 2 remaining. And there's one for the Turk. What can Leaky Fac do? Where is he? He was last seen outside. He's up on that ventilations area. But no, he's found an opening. Shephard, historically very good on border. If he can keep up that same tempo that we tend to see on this map, he'll be well positioned. He's got a good supporting cast right now. As Joystick, Posha, they've all got picks. Outside of Shephard, always in Dan could contend for this final pick. Solotov twists away right now inside of office by the door. He's got a highlighter in front of him. But Joystick gets the kill. And just like that, VP goes up 1-0.
Hot start from Posha, of course, really nicely played. Managed to kill the blitz as soon as it was going in for the plant. We saw Brede trying to make that entry point, get that defuse kit onto the ground. I was thinking usually when there's a push like that, you're looking at C4s to deny the plant, you're looking at a Warden, but it was just the long angle being held by Posha. Notable, of course, starting 2-1 in this game. Posha has yet to go negative in even a single map that they've played all throughout the Montreal Major. Looking to see more good stuff from him. Posha has long been, I shouldn't say long been actually, Posha has, since joining this team, often been the best player on the squad. There you see the kills coming out. Great overhead view in our replays. We really do see a lot of more aggressive plays coming out from Posha. VP have often been described as like an old school style of team that play very traditional, slow-paced siege. Posha adds a little bit of spice to this team, right? Adds a little bit of that aggression that a lot of other teams maybe have a bit more of. Posha being that kind of X factor for this squad has really brought them up to pace with the rest of the teams here in this meta. Nothing new, of course, was big for them as well back at the 6th Invitational when Virtus.pro finished 3rd place overall in front of the Brazilian crowd down in Sao Paulo.
There's also here in Montreal where we saw VP, then known as Team Empire, compete in one of the longest and one of the most exhilarating maps in Rainbow Six history. Obviously, the matchup itself was really nothing special because Bank and Border that followed it were not really anything to write home about. But that coastline going, what, 22 rounds, 23 rounds, somewhere in that window? Absolutely zapped the life out of the players. It did the same for us as casters, and obviously, at that time, a very young team, then known as Team Empire, of course, now known as Virtus.pro. It's very hard to come back for that. G2 ended up winning that world championship, but you got to imagine that Virtus.pro would love to win anything here in Montreal. Don't know if that'll be weighing on the back of their minds as they go about this matchup today or any of their matchups, but it might just be some nice motivation to beat their fellow region mates.
First Deathmark gonna come out. They're tracking for Shephard, but he falls back to a mute jammer and will survive. They've got the Blitz starting to make some space from Bride. I wouldn't say BDS are one of the biggest shield teams in the world, but we do often in this tournament see them bring more shields than almost anybody else because we just haven't had as many anti-shields banned, or many shields banned against BDS. Good vert angle from Always as we start to make an entry point from Bride, but he hasn't found anybody just yet.
It was Virtus.pro who struck first in round one. Now it's BDS's turn. It's very short-lived, admittedly, as Dan takes out Leakyfac, who was the one who got the kill on the side of BDS. Down goes your Bravo. What value did the clutch drones find? Well, we saw firsthand in the first 40 seconds how critical they can be to take away a bunch of bulletproof cameras, a default cam. The clutch drone will be no more. Use this, eliminating Posha. Now it could be Always next in the line of proverbial fire, with literal fire in front of him too. Bride at the halfway point of this round, getting the diffuser down. He manages to pull out and get the job done. Always dies, Dan goes down as well, and it's all left to Joystick, who got the 2 exit kills in the previous round, but might just have too much to deal with this time, taking an awful lot of damage as he trudges on. And Solotov, inside of security, finds that final elimination. BDS answer back. Good ping pong between these teams, and frankly, that's what I come to expect.
Yeah, again, really good plant focus coming out from BDS. Obviously, Bride, exact same operator, running with the defuse gate, getting it on the ground. I think this is something that BDS have hunted out for ahead of time and have noticed as a weakness for Virtus.pro. VP, throughout this tournament, have allowed plants in 42% of their defensive rounds. 42% of teams playing against Virtus.pro are getting that plant down consistently, which is really a weak point for Virtus.pro. It's the highest percentage in the tournament of plants going down against. So with BDS, maybe recognizing that once the site gets cleared out, once some of these players like Shephard, who is in a good site position, get taken off the board, you can often plant and there won't be as much resistance coming out from Virtus.pro. 2 plant attempts, 1 successful now from BDS. They will be able to maintain a 50% plant rate the first 2 rounds. And keep an eye out for that for the rest of this game, because if we do see BDS playing an extremely plant-focused playstyle, as you really can do on Border, more than almost any other map, Virtus.pro are going to need to come up with answers for that, and so far I haven't seen any real solutions.
I understand what meta we're in, Jesse, but it is just so peculiar to me to see BDS running a shield. Bride in particular, I mean, he's usually got a gun in hand.
Yeah.
One of the best fragging supports in the entire world. So seeing him on a shield leading the charge for the first 2 rounds, admittedly won't be on a shield for round number 3, but seeing him on that shield for the first 2 rounds, it's bizarre. And I know it's not the first time he's played a shield op, for the record. Efac walks in, down he goes to Always. First blood drawn by VP for the 2nd time. The team that has drawn first blood so far has won every single round. Admittedly, first blood in round 1 was quite definitive. First blood in round 2, round blood, maybe the blood was round, I don't know. First blood in round 2, though, was traded back right away. So no real advantage was gained by BDS getting that opening pick. As you can see, there's been no response from BDS after losing Leakyfac on the buck.
This is a bold fight. Managed to clear out the Deimos mine without anything too scary. The Dread mine, I should say, as well. Doesn't quite find the pick on a joystick, though, despite having really good information from that drone. Here's the Deimos Deathmark that will once again get counted out by that mute jammer. The jammers have been so effective for VP so far. Bride's still up above all the way outside on the mezzanine, so you aren't going to expect a rush plant anytime soon, even though you've got BDS players outside the site window inside of Archives. Clearing through top floor is the primary focus still. Nobody from VP is actually up on the top floor. So BDS, as soon as they find that out, once they maybe pop some logic bombs or drone it out, they can go in and take that ground. But at the moment, they're a little bit hesitant, maybe a little bit afraid of who might be lurking up top. Unless somebody walks up metal, Shaiko's holding absolutely nothing at the current moment.
It's a very chaotic map, but Virtus.pro right now showing a great deal of patience as they have very limited interest in pressuring BDS. Unlike that first round, let BDS come to you. You got the first pick. All right, what comes next? Well, Shaiko waking up, his third kill. First so far in the round, down goes Joystick. That was the Fenrir roaming off site. Logic bombs go out, immediately silenced by the mute jammers that Shephard had placed earlier on. Rubber will hit the road now. As you see, a rotate from BDS. Over towards the A-bomb, walking in, always gunning down Bride, uses trading right back. Shaiko thought he had something. Shephard said, not today, Junior. A 2v2 with diffuser in hands for Uzis. Everybody taking their beatings, except for Uzis. Inside a bathroom, not far removed from Solotov, as that's really the only map control that they can grab over the next 15 seconds. Uzis get that diffuser at the halfway point, and what a finish from Solotov. Both players on VP, exposing themselves at the wrong place and the wrong time. BDS trusted in their teammates. That trust was well placed. It's 2 in a row for the... Can we even call them a French squad anymore?
I think so. They're 3/5.
Okay.
I consider them French, even though they're going to be calming in English. If we get attack timeout, we might be able to listen into some of that, but for the moment, no reason to call attack timeout. They're up 2-1. BDS looking very good with a lot of these plant-focused executes again here on border. Really got to give credit to Solotov in the 2v2. It felt like a 1v2 because he had his teammate planting behind him. He needed to get both of those kills or the round was very difficult to win. He stepped up and he got the job done. He is their worst player overall. If you look at the statistics, Solotov has the worst stats through this tournament, but he's their best player overall when you isolate your focus to just the attack. He's got a 1.64 KD ratio. He's 18 and 11 when playing on the attacking side. Overall, he's still positive. He's +4. Everybody else on BDS just is better. So saying he's the worst on BDS is kind of a long-running joke because, you know, he's still a fantastic player and nobody would call him poor. But that's just how deep this BDS squad certainly is. And he has his niche, of course, on those attacking operators. Loves to get active, loves to play a lot of those more aggro roles, oftentimes on the soft breach with the sledge. That round having good impact horizontally as well. So we're running back an interesting setup here. We're dropping the Blitz for the top floor, and we are instead picking up Ascends, one of the least picked operators in Rainbow Six Siege. There's a lot of counters to Sens walls in this game. But BDS, they're a crafty team, and if they think they've got a strategy, I'm always willing to hear them out with it. I can't say I've ever really seen a successful Sens strategy on this site. I've seen a couple of attempts over by Archives, but it looks like Bride is actually setting up over towards Lockers. So I'm really intrigued to see what BDS have planned.
You have hyped up Sens time and time again, and yet the operator just...
Yeah.
I believe is the official... If you were to say, how does Sens usually do? You would go, and that's it, right? Always was between a rock and a hard place. What a shot from Shaiko. Not just using his grenades, but also his gun to eliminate 2 players from VP and crack this round wide open for BDS. Solotov is obscured from that dread mine, but has the smoke in front of him. The Sens smoke as well. What a shot from Posha. Inside a small office, goodbye to Solotov.
Good attempt there with the glass coming through the Sens wall, but beauty of a shot coming out. Starts to equalize the man count, still +1 for BDS. Likifac hunting to make that a little bit wider, but there's nobody inside a break room for him to find. The last 3 players of Virtus.pro are all over towards the bomb site. They're all tucked in pretty conservatively. We're in a plant spot. No. We're starting to hold down the site here as another one of those Lion EE1Bs comes through. The mute jammers are once again there to stop the Deimos track. This has been consistent for Virtus.pro. They kind of want to swing to get an aggressive pick, but look at this rotation. Bride moving over towards Archives, starting to push this other bomb site. Uzis is already set up here. If Virtus.pro aren't aware this move is happening, they could get caught off guard. It's mostly just Dan that's holding down the A site.
Getting caught off guard with so limited time and a numbers disadvantage is unideal. You still got Shaiko on the board, though, for BDS. He's been formidable to start off the round. Time remains for BDS to crack open this bomb site. Let's take Dan's eyesight there, by the way, to see if he can see into the other part of the map. There goes the Warden gadget. Posha with a second kill, this time on to use this. Dan catches the cross as Shaiko wanders haplessly into Fountain, and now it's Posha far enough back to create kill holes and lines aside. A third kill, a fourth is there as well. As Leaky Fack looks for his first kill, he gets the job done, but he's running out of time, and he's running directly towards Posha as well, but nobody from VP wants the engagement. The safer plan, Jesse, is to sit far back and let the round get won all on its own. 2-2 so far, and this is the competitive border we came to expect.
Like, if we do something, like, let's push or something, like, we did nothing. We did nothing. You guys did one by one.
Some frustration coming out from BDS. They're starting to realize that Posha's a bit of a problem on this top floor. He's been twice now up on that top floor, playing in the Aruni, playing with that DMR, finding the long angle picks over towards Archive's door. That has been his main play that has been shutting down these pushes from BDS now twice in a row. They won't get a chance to replicate their attack on that bomb site until at least overtime, but if we get there, it very likely will be played in round 13 or 14, depending on who starts on B. But I imagine Virtus.pro will continue to favor this bomb site. Now they're 2-0 here, feeling very confident with it. Posha just on the long angle. I mean, really so aware of the movements BDS want to make. They clearly had some fun ideas with the Sens and the Glass, and I always appreciate trying something like that, but Posha was too quick with the shots. Managed to focus the Lockers wall when it was important, then switch his attention. BDS, I like the idea to rotate that. You know, they clearly wanted to make some sort of adaptation, but it was just read so perfectly by Virtus.pro. So we stay at a very close neck-and-neck game now, 2-2, heading into the fifth round. We'll go back down to Ventilation Workshop for our fifth round in our second bomb site. No custom supply being brought out just yet by VP. You wouldn't expect it from Virtus.pro, who typically like to be very traditional in their site rotation, but custom supply has been more and more popular, especially inside of North America, so wouldn't shock me if BDS maybe tried it on their half, but VP, that would be a little shocking.
Every time we cast VP, we are contractually obligated to talk about how they don't really do anything that surprising. They tend to do the things you expect the most out of them, and while there was a period of time where that was hard to counter, you knew where they were going to come from, and they still beat you from those positions. Teams have figured it out, teams have caught up, but now VP needs to be a bit more adventurous with the way they go about their strategizing. Always getting slaughtered by Shaiko. That's just Shaiko doing Shaiko things. BDS striking first yet again.
Many people would tell you that Shaiko is the best Deimos player in the world. We've seen some good mute jammers coming out to counter VP.
Sorry, they would tell me that, but would they be correct?
I think they would be. I mean,
because many people might tell me that you're the best caster in the world, and I don't agree with them. Hold on a second here. I'm sorry, Joystick. I was not aware of your game. I apologize.
Ridiculous shots coming out. Just as we're glazing Shaiko, Joystick says, don't forget about me. Used to be, of course, one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all in the world.
Were you going to say of all time?
I was. I think that's a little far, though.
Many people are saying that. Many people are saying that you've inspired them to go bowling after seeing your shirt.
I am a big bowler. I like bowling quite a bit.
You were actually talking about wanting to go bowling earlier today.
Yeah, and you shut me down.
I did, because 5-pin bowling is not real bowling. Use this, eliminating Joystick. That is the only player of VP to get a kill this round. A 3-3 with just a little bit below a minute in play. There goes the death mark. It's the Legion of Posha being harassed over by Soft Wall. I don't know what you think is going to happen there. Joystick is just going to crush you to pieces. To shreds, you say?
Excellent Deimos usage. Once again, best Deimos in the world. Shaiko proving it.
I've heard people saying that. Down goes Dan to use this, and it looks like BDS is poised to take the round unless Shephard can do something other than get death tracked. He's got a Nitro Cell in hand, and Shaiko will give his position away, but where do you go?
So awkward.
It's going to be a back take towards A. BDS Not getting the diffuser down. BDS waiting for the right call. Oh no, Shephard's given his spot away. Down goes Usis. Nitro Cell will probably connect. It does! BDS, eat your heart out. Shephard is him.
Big 1v3 coming out. My God, Shephard.
You not like that?
I liked it.
Give me a stink face.
I wasn't a stink face. I was a shocked face.
That's like when you hear a really good song or a really good part of music and you're like, oh, and you make like an ugly stink face. Do you ever do that? No, you don't, because you listen to terrible music.
I listen to great music.
You listen to terrible music.
I listen to music almost as beautiful as that clutch from Shephard, the Nitro Cell.
Don't compare them.
Perfect to come on out and stop that plant. I really think BDS just forgot about the fact that, oh shoot, he could Nitro Cell us here, because they have perfect information. They knew exactly where he was thanks to Death Track, and yes, the Mute Jammer made sure that that tracker wasn't on him giving live pings, but they still knew relatively where he was. The reason that plant came down so late from BDS was because they wanted to take their time to rotate away from where Posha was playing, because they, sorry, not Posha, Shephard, because they knew exactly where Shephard was at, and they said, hey, if we can just plant where this guy isn't, that's gonna give us the best chance of winning the round. He launched it with 2 seconds, blew up with 1 second, and there's just no shot that Shaiko can get there fast enough to win the 1v1. That's gotta feel so painful for BDS. Felt like they played that round really well. The map clear was going perfectly. Catching out Posha, I thought at that point it was gonna be over. They had that 3v2 advantage. They cleaned it up to a 3v1. But sometimes somebody just pops off, and Shephard, of course, 26-year-old support coming in with some big impact for Virtus.pro. They cannot lose this half now.
It's their map. It doesn't really matter what side you start on. You want to be well positioned on a map like Border. At 3-3 first half is something that we could kind of say, okay, we understand that.
For sure.
In terms of numbers, I mean, BDS is very rarely going to be engaged with fights on attack. So an 0-4 for BDS on attack is really not the end of the world. For Leakyfac, at 1-4 with the way that he's been playing on Border, that's a bigger problem. But both of these players will likely be more active when they move to being defenders, especially BDS, where it honestly seems like well over 2/3 of his kills happen from him as a position, as a defender. A run out from Joystick. Goodbye, Solotov. Patient rounds and then aggressive rounds. Virtus.pro swapping it up.
Yeah, you can see they're confident now. Virtus.pro, they want to start rolling with this momentum. It is very rare that you see BDS shake. It was on this map only 6 months ago that BDS probably shook the last time up against Beast Coast in Manchester. Now Virtus.pro trying to repeat history. They've got a man advantage. The Deimos trackers do not stop. Is there a Mute Jammer nearby for Posha? It gets called off anyways.
Oh my.
Top floor, again, being heavily contested by VP. Both Dan and Joystick are rocking that top floor position with 3 players then on the main floor. Looking back, hunting for the player east stairs, that's Joystick. He makes his retreat, but he's caught by BDS. Good rotation.
BDS almost dies. Instead, it's Shaiko who goes down at the hands of Dan. Now Leakyfac inching his way down those east stairs. Bulletproof camera is gone, but he's given away his location. Long range towards customs where Shephard is. With an SMG-11 in hand, this thing's gonna do negative damage unless it hits the head, and there you go. He engages with Leakyfac, maybe not the smartest idea. BDS getting a kill now with Diffuser, and the objective should be good. Nobody from VP seems to be aware of this. Nitro Cell takes out BDS. Posha thinks somebody is over inside of lobby. Waiting room. The waiting that's happening right now is Leakyfac watching those stairs. He's left all alone as there goes Usis. 3 kills so far in the round for Dan. Always walks in, and it's Posha to get the final kill the first half. On defense, on Border, their own map. VP comes out ahead 4-2. The teams will swap sides.
At the start of this game, we talked about Virtus.pro's inability to stop plants from going down in previous games through this tournament. Over the last 2 rounds, they proved that that's not a problem in 2 separate ways. And of course, in round number 5, the big Nitro Cell from Shephard to stop the plants. I think about 3 of BDS's deaths, of his 5 deaths, have been while putting the defuse kit on the ground. So they've actually done a great job of stopping those plants so far today. And then in the post plant too, so perfectly playing around it. Dan, often called Dan the Man, stepping up big time in that previous round. He's the lowest KD on the team coming into this tournament, but the thing about Dan is his KDR has improved every single map that they've played. He was negative in the first game that they played in round number 1 of Swiss. He was a little bit less negative, I believe, in the second game that they played. And then yesterday, he was positive for the first time in their last matchup. Now he's going to be trying to get positive once again, 5-4 after the first half, maintaining this positive KD ratio. If Dan starts heating up, this is where VP really shined. I would argue that it was mostly Dan and Posha that were leading the team when they had that 6 invitational run in Sao Paulo all the way to 3rd place. Those were the 2 star players that really did perform the brightest. Oftentimes you look at this team, you think about Joystick, and he's absolutely a star player in his own right, but not as consistent as he once was. Falling back on the younger players like Posha, like Dan's going to lead the way has been the game plan for Virtus.pro over the last couple of years, and it has been quite successful, despite their setbacks earlier on this season.
Joystick's formidable nature as a player falling off was a huge reason why Virtus.pro sought out a player like Posha, and Posha has been so consistent on this team. Been an excellent pickup as he's worried about getting peeked from that east door, which is why you saw him fully prone, taking out the default camp.
Drone work now from Joystick too. I mean, they really want to start getting on with this clear. For Virtus.pro, this is their first attack, don't forget, so they want to really get warmed up into this game. Map control largely being held by BDS right now. I don't believe anybody on the side of VP has entered the building. Nobody from BDS trying to hold down below, so they are spreading themselves across that top floor, as you typically see. First lion charge will come out. Shaiko's going to retreat outside of offices into Fountain instead. Line back up with Bride to try to go for some support. The diffuse kit is still all the way over by Mez, so they've got a lot of maps still to take. I think they're going for an office push. Solotov's the doc playing inside of security. He's faced like 0 pressure all round, so I don't think their game plan is going to be to go lockers, but they might pivot halfway through this.
An ACOG in that position of the dock, by the way, is pretty normal stuff. Shaiko, the first casualty, that's bad news for BDS, and they'll lose Solotov as well, as he'd just been juicing himself to the gills inside of security. A beautiful shot from Uses to keep numbers close, but the advantage still for Virtus.pro. Losing Joystick is obviously bad, but there's enough threats there on the side of VP. As you see, they're swinging. Always got the down, and they'll need to retrieve this last player, as now it's a run away. Uses crawling to safety. Leaky Fac getting away with his life. Oh, it looked like the Warden was falling through time and space. Leaky Fac now trapped inside a Fountain. Him and Bride, we mentioned that they were low on kills. Now they're defenders. If there were ever a time for them to start getting some kills on the board, it's now. Leaky Fac, for his credit, has started to do that.
Shephard's taking some time to drone right now, gets shot by Leaky Fac, but that information could be invaluable in the last 30 seconds.
And now rotate from Leaky Fac over towards Armory. Bride reduced to 5 HP. As you hear that 417 of Dan tear through these defenders. No real time left to drone. Now you just got to go for it. Shephard will rotate all the way over towards this office side of the map. A flash into A-bomb. And now he goes over towards the door. Leaky Fac in sandwich. He would actually have a great read on Shephard here, and if nobody spots him, he can swing at a sandwich and do some serious work. There it is. Nobody watching. Leaky Fac saving the day, and Dan's just too slow to do it. Poor coverage, and Shephard gets hung out to dry.
I'm in office.
Big round for BDS.
21 years old, Leaky Fac is often considered the best player in the entire world. He was the MVP in yesterday's 7-5 victory over Black Dragons to get them to this match against VP, where they're trying to get promoted to the main stage. He's been so good. Ever since he joined this team, of course, has been contributing massive numbers. You didn't think there would ever be a player to rival Shaiko on Team BDS, and somehow they found a second French superstar in the making, adding him to their lineup. Leaky Fac has been amazing. Only the 4th best player on the team statistically this tournament, but again, they're all so close that they all have ridiculous KD ratios. Being the 4th best on this team is still quite a lot to talk about. Bride down below, I don't know if you caught that live, but he absolutely could have stopped that plant as well. Didn't have a nitro cell, but had the shotgun as well to try to stop the plant that was going down vertically. It was a very obvious plant spot from Virtus.pro, right? They took a long time to set it up, and instead of maybe choosing to plant perhaps in the archives corner, in the northwest, go for something like that, they planted in the most predictable spot just inside the doorway, and that meant it was very easy for BDS to stop that plant from going down, and then staying alive late round, of course, hitting those great shots That's just a BDS usual day in the office, so nothing too crazy coming out, but it's still a brilliant play.
When you get to this stage of the playoffs, and so much is on the line for these teams, you understand that there will be unpredictability, but you expect these matches to go back and forth. I think the G2 Sonics matchup yesterday was quite an outlier. Everything else, by and large, has been quite competitive. It looked like we had a third map in the Chiefs-Falcons game early on, but then one of the biggest throws I've seen from the Chiefs in quite some time occurred in that 12th and final round. Tex left all on his own. Falcons capitalized off of it with 2 isolated 1v1s and then held down the fort for the remaining 30 seconds or so. That was a 2-0, but even then, we've seen a lot of overtimes and we've seen a lot of map 3s, and I don't expect that to change from here till the very end of this event.
Posha's on the blitz. First time he's played this operator in Montreal. I believe he played it a little bit in stage 2. Shield play, not what VP are known for, but maybe they could make it work. They've got Solotov on a drone despite playing that Vigil, playing with the Bosch G2. The blitz comes in and forces him back. He starts the reinforcement, but a great shot. Finds Solotov right as he's trying to patch up that hole, and now Posh is getting even deeper.
Second round in a row that Solotov has shown very little effectiveness. So Posha bites off a bit more than he can chew. Shaiko gets the kill, and on the runaway, he's tagged out by Always, who's positioned over by the soft wall up top. Now it's Dan to do some damage to Uzis, who can count his lucky stars. Imagine if you could shoot the death mark.
Would be kind of a bad ability then, I feel.
Just a fun little game. Clutch drone goes out. I think that was the nitro cell that it hacked, by the way. I can't exactly tell. Uzis is the drone repeller at the moment. Everything being thrown in his direction, and he's rebuffing them all quite impressively.
Yeah, they've got a couple of seconds to set this push up, of course. They've got Dan down to the bottom of these stairs, getting a man advantage now that is 2 players strong, doubling the man count. The Deimos tracks onto the mute as well, can likely get to a jammer, but even still, this information is going to be perfect. LiquidFact needs to make a big play if they don't want to lose this round.
Oh, I mean, you're right. He needed to make one, but he did not make one, Jesse. Shephard now holding on to that diffuser as Brede retakes, and it's a bad game for Brede so far. 1-6 is below his usual performance. And whatever that we saw BDS do in the previous round, it was certainly not present. For round number 8, the lead for VP goes once again up to 2. Prompts BDS to call their tactical timeout. You can't really call it a round later because if Virtus.pro wins that round, you have to immediately convert that timeout.
We're seeing VP bring out a couple of new things in that game. Deimos for only the 2nd time the whole tournament being brought by Virtus.pro. Blitz being brought out for the 5th time, the first time on Posha. We're seeing some really new stuff coming out, and that could really be a good sign. If BDS aren't expecting some of these more aggressive moves, these faster paced attacks from Virtus.pro, that could be a quick ticket from VP straight to the main stage. You talk about Brede maybe not having the greatest of games, of course, 1-6, but he's been very plant-focused in the attacker half, so I'm not sure that's a huge problem. He's playing his role. Really, I think for the rest of BDS, they just need to make sure that these defenses don't have any gaps in them and that they're playing together. This is a big thing with Shields. You really can't play solo and isolated on the roam in 2024. If a blitz is running at you and they can get close range or even medium range for that flash, they will kill you in the 1v1. There's very little you can do about it. One thing that we've seen meta-wise is a lot of teams will have been contracting their defenses. They're playing more together. They're not playing as many isolated players. And if they do play an isolated player, either that player is just trying to rat, maybe get misdroned, or maybe they're playing the newest operator in the game, Scopos. And they'll have that ability to retreat very safely back to the bomb site in ways that no other operator can do. BDS, difficult to use the Scopos here on border, so playing closer together is usually the route that teams will go for. If we keep seeing this Blitz and Deimos combination coming out from Virtus.pro, BDS will need to find answers for it. I'm sure that's a lot of what the conversation was about inside the tactical timeout. No Deimos this time around, but we're getting just as toxic. Look at this. Ying coming out, Glaz coming out, Blitz coming out, Lion coming out immediately. This is not dissimilar to what BDS were running, so a little taste of their own medicine. Can Virtus.pro be as successful with the execute? Since the bomb site is bathroom and tellers, I would expect this to be a very fast push in through the window.
A go for the throat style of play for Virtus.pro. They're a team that can certainly pull that off, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, historically, maybe not, but nowadays, in 2024, they looked revamped, absolutely.
It's funny, if you look at the VP lineup on defense, it was almost identical all the way down. Shephard played mute every single round. Joystick Fenrir every single round.
Yeah.
Posha played either a Rooney or Legion. Then there was Malusi in the hands of always every round, except they needed a Legion, so obviously it wasn't Posha who played it. Here you go. The point is that Virtus.pro, they do the same things all the time. Oh my goodness, BDS! You have to take care of him before he can pull the trigger on the Nitro Cell. You batten him away, you get the down. Diffuser goes off as well. BDS about to be retrieved by LeakyFac. What a mess this is. 5 players of BDS still upright. A great drone upstairs will give VP information as BDS gets ever closer to this defuse kit. Dan dies, so BDS beating the brakes off them in the post plant. Shephard now on an upside down rappel. He doesn't trust that Claymore. BDS on the diffuser. Nobody stopping him. Where is Joystick to shut him down? BDS will almost pull off the long arm, but it's Shephard to the rescue. Virtus.pro still with 2. Uses now on the diffuser. LeakyFac swinging, always needs to stop this, but he's not going to be able to get there in time. Uses the hero of that round, but it's really LeakyFac pushing up to the window, shutting down Shephard, and preventing always from getting to the case. Boy, oh boy, what an exhilarating round that BDS comes out on top of.
And that's not an easy one, right? I mean, the post plant, 5 players alive, it's on the ground. They had to take a bit of time to pick up their mute player inside of bathroom. They had a lot of players to work with. They had a lot of resources in that post plant, but it was very tough to be able to stop all those players that were outside the building, up above the bomb site, trying to make sure that you don't get off that disable. BDS, they played so well together. It wasn't even a question of who's going to jump on the disable, who's getting aggressive to stop the plant, who's going for the swings on the window. It just felt like everybody knew exactly what they had to do. Wow, look at that EMP2, last second stopping the Nitro Cell from going off and stopping that plant. There was a really good plant attempt there by VP. Obviously, they got it down. It felt like they had everything going for them. I think if maybe Posha was able to get a couple of kills there playing the Blitz, he was able to push some players down to the ground. He was able to make a lot of space for that plant to happen, but he didn't actually follow it up with any kills. And so for the fact that BDS had all 5 players alive, they did a great job going in for that plant. A really fun round from both teams, but BDS just a little bit better in the post plant. This game, they can't get any closer.
If they manage to take care of BDS inside a bathroom and keep the shield upright, I don't think LeakyFac is able to live through that and then get BDS back up. And speaking of LeakyFac, at one point he was 1-4. He is now 9-6. I called him out, and now he has 8 more kills. You're welcome, French fans. It was really all my doing. If Caster Curse exists, then the Caster Blessing has to exist as well.
It must. I think that's only fair.
The Shoutcaster Shoutout. The Caster Curse. There are elegant ways to say that. We'll figure it out one day. I'm too deeply engrossed in this matchup. I like both of these teams, so we're settled in for a good match. I like this map. We're settled in for a good match. I like the way these 2 teams play. One of them goes to main stage. I'm settled in for this match. Look at all these things going in our favor.
And look at this run out coming out too. Top floor, big plays, and it will be Shaiko taking down Joystick. Very aggressive move, working off of that castle barricade, being destroyed by the Habana pellets. Habana so commonly utilized by Virtus.pro. Shephard maybe just not expecting that when he's popping open the window. Popping open the doorway even. There's a big trade though, Dan, and he's out the window too. They'll find this trade pick, and that does take Shaiko off the board. One of the best players on BDS, probably the best player, especially historically. They're going to start to work their way through the top floor now. Solotov is still holding on to security. There's a lot of map control still being held by BDS. Solotov's got a mute jammer here to protect him from the Deimos. Not that it's being brought, but of course it's been big this game. Always big too.
Take care of Shaiko, you take care of Uses. The way he's been playing, your next target needs to be LeakyFac. You leave him to marinate in this round, and bad things can befall Virtus.pro. Let's not discount the fact that if BDS starts to step it up and wins more engagements in the tail end of at least 1 to 2 more rounds, it could be an entirely different ballgame.
Yeah, we're seeing VP reset at this point. They're moving back over towards Archives. This is the push that they repelled very efficiently when they were on the defense, hoping that the BDS guys can't do the same. Wall opens up. BDS watching it. It's just an angle. They can't rotate through that.
The bigger issue with Virtus.pro is really clock management. It's what doomed them on this bomb site last time, Jesse. Shephard came in with only 8 seconds left on the clock to get that diffuser down. Leaky Fact was tucked away, if you remember, over in Sandwich. Nitro Cell goes out, and it's a missed shot by Shephard. Dan taking care of Solotov. It's all up to the anchors or the anchor. Once again, it's Leaky Fact's job to save it, and Dan just flattens them. Absolutely demolishing these last 2 players as he steamrolls through the bomb site. No objective play even needed by Virtus.pro on that round. It was all violence all the way down. And now BDS, after having called their timeout just a couple rounds ago, stare down match point. The Russians on their own map, as we expect. I would have been shocked if BDS had won this map. I don't know about you.
I think so. I think BDS 2-0ing this is much more likely than VP 2-0ing this. But still, you expect a 3-map series between 2 of the titans of Europe, and Dan absolutely bringing us there as fast as he can. Kind of like a sleeping bear himself. At the start of this tournament, he was quite quiet, negative in the first couple of games that they played. Now waking up in the most important matches, the BO3s seem to be where he shines. Now he'll elevate his kill total all the way up to 11 and 5, top fragging the lobby. He's been the best player on Virtus.pro today, and if he can continue to step it up, again, the worst player on this team heading into this matchup, but that's exactly what Virtus.pro want to see. 6 and 4 now, match point. Being able to force us 1-0 up and send us to Chalet with 1 in pocket. If they can do this, they'll not only be qualifying for the main stage, but also the 6th Invitational in Boston next February 2025. Lots to play for VP. You gotta imagine as well, there's a lot of pride on the line here too, as this team did not have a good stage 1. BDS about as good as it gets. Shaiko, a ton of damage, 105 pumped into him, but look at that. Doesn't matter when you got a dock on the board, beauty.
Great docking for BDS. Getting Shaiko back up. If there's 2 players that you need to focus on prioritizing, Shaiko and Leaky Fact, both sitting at 9 kills, yet still trailing Dan. Words are hard.
They are.
Words are hard.
We
have a late day, so we woke up late. I'm still going through my coffee. Cut me some slack.
I'll cut it for you, Parker, because we're back on custom supply. I said it'd be odd if VP went here, but BDS will choose to bring it out. It's been more and more popular over the last couple of months. It's a bomb site that has a lot of direct entry points, but so does every site on border. Top floor, as always, is going to be so important. Security in particular will be the most important part of the map to be holding, but they're going to start office. They seem to have really good pings. Yeah, up above, look at this. Bride caught on a drone, and he'll know that. When does he drop? If he dies first, that's a really bad spot to be in for your hard support, but... Is he dropping?
No.
He's wasting a lot of time here.
This is honestly what the roam is, right? People often think that roaming means getting kills. No, it's wasting utility, it's wasting time, and Bride will persist. He has no real desire to get off of this spot. Joystick, if he'd held his mouse down for but a single second longer, would have collected the kill onto Leaky Fact. Instead, it's BDS breaking open the round with a little bit over a minute to go. There goes the Nook. The element of surprise is gone. Joystick also not really showing up as much as VP would want on attack. 3 largely ineffective rounds in a row for what used to be their best player. Might still be, but certainly isn't here on border.
Yeah, this is tough. Solotov makes his escape as well. 60 seconds on the clock, and they're going to decide to fall off the top floor, with the one exception of Leaky Fact, who now does fall as well. Everybody rotating back to the main floor. Don't want to hold up above. They're going to concede it to Virtus.pro, thinking that they've wasted enough time at this point. Again, security is very valuable to hold on to for this bomb site, but they don't have a great way into the site. They're going to have to go down metal, maybe find a hatch to drop instead. The Nitro doesn't make it any easier. Uses finds Solotov. What do you do?
Dan will drop, looking for a 12th kill, finds it, snaps on to Leaky Fact. And now we'll have to blow open this castle barricade. Very limited time remaining again. Virtus.pro have battled the clock an awful lot, almost as much as they've battled BDS. Down below through the hatch, Solotov trying to keep these VP members from being able to drop. There's Posha, down for the count. What remains of Dan and Always is very low on HP. There's no time left on the clock. It was a formality at that point. BDS wins the round, whether they get the kills or not, as there was only a single second left. And we're gonna need every single round. BDS making VP work for this victory. And if BDS can prevail on this round and we go to OT, victory for Virtus.pro, far from certain.
I think that the pressure's been high on Virtus.pro. They've kind of resorted back to their old play style, slowly clearing the top part of the map, losing some of these opening engagements, trying to play that almost perfect style of Siege where they're trying to full clear everything, take it step by step, but they're doing it so slowly and they're not actually getting those kills. They're not doing anything with this time that they're putting into their attacks. They gotta speed it up once again, right? They looked really good at the start of this half when they were able to run that blitz, run that Deimos, make some explosive pushes happen. The last couple of takes have really just come down to the clock, not quite being there from Virtus.pro. Again, they want to get that map control, but it's been to their detriment more so than to their benefits. The bomb site in our final round of regulation is going to be Bathroom. It's going to be Bathroom and Tellers, the site that last time VP wanted for a direct site hit where they got the plant down but couldn't win the post plants. I'm looking at the op lineup that they're locking in now. We don't see a blitz. We don't see a ton of smokes coming out, but instead it'll be the Deimos that's once again in the hands of Always. A rare pickup for Virtus.pro, a near perma pick for BDS. Will it be the difference maker to force us to 7-5? Or will this be BDS pushing us to OT? This map, again, feels like a must-win for Virtus.pro, their own pick in the series.
Again, it's really going to come down to that clock management. BDS have done a very good job of holding Virtus.pro at bay. It's not just that VP are slow on their own. Sometimes you'll watch a team and you can assess they're not droning particularly well, something is wrong with their communication, things are just taking too long. It's not the case. BDS have spread out all over the map, they've got lots of intel, and they're bringing a lot of operators that are designed specifically to slow down the push. It's working out very effectively so far, and Virtus.pro have had their hands full and simply been overwhelmed on too many of these rounds. Dan dies, that's the best player statistically on Virtus.pro, and Posha will go as well. This round might already be a write-off. VP down 2 players with 2 minutes still left in the round.
Again, it's just the entries, and it might get even worse here as Liquefact is holding on to jail. Lion charge goes through, makes him stand still. He actually does get pinged by the Lion, so he's going to have to back off the Deimos track as well. We'll spot him out. Can they get the pick off because of it? Always calls it off, but now he's got a goo mine in his foot, so he's going to let Liquefact get away. Can you afford to do this, though? Liquefact might be re-aggressing as well. Joystick for the top floor. They're very isolated on the side of VP. They need to win their next gunfighter. This feels over. Shaiko makes sure it doesn't happen. Use this as well.
Night-night.
Shephard alone in the 1v5. Parker, I'm going to make a bold take here. We might be seeing an overtime.
Jesse, I cannot believe you would say that right now with how close this round is.
Something about it. Something about the way this round has gone.
Look, you don't got to be Nicholas Pengu Moritzen to know that this is a bad round for Virtus.pro.
Yeah, I do some analysis sometimes.
All you need is at least 1 eye. You don't even need 2 eyes. You just need 1 eye. Maybe a monocle to help that single eye to assess that Shephard's not going to be able to pull this off. Virtus.pro have yet to use their timeout.
Yeah.
So when we go into overtime, which we will at this point, there is no way that Shephard's going to win this, and he's not even trying to win it as well. He's going to be able to talk through things with the team. The team is going to be able to discuss this while he sits and waits. Ditto BDS, by the way. But BDS do not have their timeout. They don't really need it. Right now, this is a defender-sided border. BDS are sitting on the right side of it. So Shephard's going to take some time, waste the remaining portion of the round. Maybe at some point, one person from BDS will swing him, but I very much doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, we're here at the end of the round. It is what it is. We're going to 13. Virtus.pro had the choice of attack or defense on overtime round 13. They chose defense before the match started. That's what they'll be able to play twice, as this is their map pick. Defense has been a little bit better so far today. It feels like these the Virtus.pro squad that we know are doing a little bit better when they don't have to make those moves. And in particular, their top floor bomb site was extremely strong. They managed to win it both times they played it in rounds 1 and rounds 4. BDS couldn't crack it. A lot of that coming down to Posha's great play with the Aruni up on the top floor. If they can repeat that, they're going to be in good space. I was thinking we'd see the tack timeout ahead of round 12, just to address some of these clock problems, because we haven't seen a lot of that aggression. Hi, Habana. A lot of aggression in a minute. You know, it feels like since round 7, round 8, that's when we were seeing the big aggressive blitz plays coming out from VP, but maybe ahead of round 13. I wouldn't expect to have this one. Play it simple, play it safe, go back to the top floor. That's the game plan from Virtus.pro. This push has, or this hold has not failed yet. So they're gonna run it right on back. Likely gonna be holding all throughout the top floor, setting up those Surya gates, Posha with the long angle, Aruni DMR. Again, he will be the focus. I'd love to see BDS go below and try to take out Posha early in the round. Consistently, he's playing over towards lockers. He's playing in a very safe position in theory, right? He's playing quite deep inside the site, but often he's playing on soft floorboards as well. We see a Buck from LickyFact, we see a Deimos from Shaiko. Probably the two best operators in the game for getting picks vertically. If BDS have assessed that and have also adopted the game plan of wanting to kill Posha ahead of time, they could set themselves up really nicely for a late round execute without Posha on the board.
It's been a long time since Virtus.pro on defense and BDS on attack, so you get settled in, you kind of get a groove going. Another question that we've asked many, many times and might be asking again depending on how these overtime rounds go, Jesse, is whether or not we're going to see all reliable swap. Will the attackers have an advantage on overtime, or in overtime, or on overtime? Maybe both, I'm not sure. Users finding very good value on this Kludge drone. The Brava taking some Surya gates, taking some bulletproof cameras. And there's still one in pocket as well for Uzis. Solotov died very early, too many rounds for comfort on the side of BDS when they were attacking. He almost loses his life again in an engagement and does no damage to VP.
Yeah, they gave up security really early on the side of Virtus.pro. They did have Always playing in that position, and they reinforced the hatch for him to stand on, but now he's fallen all the way back to lockers. So BDS can take that and try to work for a lockers plant now. The rest of these players on the side of VP are mostly just contained in the site. Shephard and Fountain, that'll be about it. Nobody down to that main floor, nobody wanting to take aggressive moves. That leaves a lot of space for LickyFact and Shaiko to work picks vertically. If they can come in from below and grab these players with favorable gunfights, that could be the man advantage that they need to make their execute look good. At the moment, though, there's still util they got to clear out. There's still 5 players up on the defense that they haven't managed to find kills on. And they got to make a choice. Where are we going with this defuse kit? You have security control, so lockers is an option, but they've been really liking archives today, too.
All of your E1Ds are gone, so the remainder of your nuisance gadgets will be in the hands of Shaiko with those death marks. All 3 of them now available, or rather all 2. Never mind, none of them available, as Posha and Joystick answer back the opening pick that was done by BDS. LickyFact walking in, getting his 12th kill, but Virtus.pro comes out ahead with those trades. All they've lost on the side of VP is Dan, which admittedly is a big loss. But the rest of the team, right now, with the exception of Joystick, are all even in terms of the numbers. A second for LickyFact as Shephard pulls out the shotgun, blasts through Uzis. Brede, the last one standing now as LickyFact is dropped by Always. There he is, inside of Armory. 10 seconds remain, and he's got access to the diffuser. He has to get LickyFact up. 2 players still from Virtus.pro. LickyFact will watch over top of it. 4 HP for Brede, 20 for LickyFact. Diffuser at the halfway point. The Frenchman watching over his teammate as the case goes down, and now Joystick will need to clutch. He finds one, but he has no information as to the other. LickyFact far enough away, sitting on the other side of that reinforcement. Joystick could go for the long arm. Trying to draw out LickyFact, but doesn't know where he is! And the patience for the biggest Frenchman at the tournament. It pays off.
Let's go, guys.
BDS 1 round away from taking VP's map.
That one stings. That one stings so hard. They had every advantage that they could have possibly wanted. They got that man advantage, of course. They didn't lose Posha, who was still playing control of lockers. But if Fuse Kit wanted to go there, we saw the back pinch coming in from the Brava, which also didn't find any success. You were sat there thinking, how could VP lose this? They just didn't want to get aggressive in the 2v2. They didn't think that if they pushed up that they would have that advantage, but because Plant was going down, that was exactly what they had to do. We didn't see it come out, though. In the 2v2, the last 2 players alive, Joystick and Shephard, just too afraid to push, even when Brede was taking the time to pick up LickyFact, even when the defuse kit was being put on the ground by Brede, they didn't swing, and they didn't swing together. They swung way too late. They swung way too solo. And they allowed that brilliant 1v1 clutch to be pulled out. Now you've got to attack. Now you've got to do what you failed to do all throughout this match and the tournament. I mean, Virtus.pro have been much better on the defense. Just yesterday, they won 6 defenses in a row after going down 5-1 on Cafe. Ended up winning that game yesterday in an incredible comeback. That shows not only their strength on the defensive side, but also their mental resilience. That's not been here today.
No.
Virtus.pro have let these last couple of rounds slip through their fingers. They've got to make a choice on how they push this next bomb site. It's going to be Bathroom. I can tell you now, Bathroom and Tellers will be the potentially the final site that we see here on Border. Virtus.pro need to make a choice. Are we full clearing the map? Are we going slow? Are we trying to use as much of this clock as we can? That didn't work for a lot of that later half of the second half. Or are we going to go fast? Are we bringing out the Blitz? Are we bringing out the... are we bringing out the... Ying? The Deimos? Any of this? Looks like it will be the Blitz for Posha. There's no glass, so I'm not sure if it's going to be a direct jump in the window and plant style strat. Notably, Posha does not have the defuse kit. The first time they pushed this map, or they pushed this site, Posha got in deep, he made space, and somebody else planted. If they're going once again for the windows, then that would make sense given who has the defuse kit. But seeing where they're opening, already working on jail, to me it looks more like they're going to clear through the map.
Watched all this energy and this enthusiasm for VP evaporate in front of our very eyes, Jesse. We didn't know that this would be no easy match for either of these teams, but in terms of potential, you've got to expect BDS to be the favorite just based on their historical record and their success so far this year. I know a lot of salty European fans still think that BDS deserve to win Manchester. I had no dog in the fight. It didn't trouble me either way where the victory went. I thought the storyline for the C9 BC team was great. Joystick eliminates Solotov to start off this round. And he does so with very little information. He just knows the default spot that BDS likes to play over in security, and it's a leg up for Virtus.pro with half the round to go.
Regardless of what the fans say, I think the players on BDS will be the first ones to tell you that the word deserve is no place in competitive Rainbow Six Siege. Joystick finds his second onto Usus, though. BDS, they don't deserve this round if they can't claw back a 3v5. All of a sudden, these early round picks are going the way of Virtus.pro. This is something that they really struggled with throughout the last quarter of this map. When we were in regulation, it felt like BDS were running away with these early picks. The tactical timeout seems to be working for Virtus.pro. They now just need to find 3 more, and they'll be forcing a 15th round here in Montreal.
What did we say about we'll wait and see if things change in overtime? And yes, indeed, it has. The attackers with a decided advantage. Bride, very few kills so far in this matchup, but you can't deny that they've all been high value. That pick onto Dan is crucial. Dan also falling off of the map the last couple rounds, but Joystick has picked up the mantle. That's the Brava down with 30 seconds left to go, so you probably wouldn't have the clutch drones at that point doing too much trickery. Right now, the big issue for Virtus.pro is where to drop. You outnumber BDS by 1. There's a retake now from Shaiko upstairs. He misses a golden opportunity. What a shot by Shephard. The shield is pulled out and always pinches the last 2 players as he drops and walks through the opening. The shield was but a distraction. As Virtus.pro send us to the 15th round. What a treat this best of 3 is going to be if all of the maps go this way.
So now we take the early round, we always do, and on mid round we focus the same goal all together. If we have to push 5 armory, we push 5 armory. It will be better than what we do normally. Okay?
Talking strategies, changing things up if they need to on the side of BDS. In the mid round, pushing 5 opponents if they have to. We saw a 45-round game not too long ago in the North American League Finals, Parker, between Sonics and Dark Zero, somewhat the conclusion of the Canadian saga, moving from one team to another. They could still meet here in Montreal. However, that would require both teams to win their games today, both playing for elimination at the moment. One later today, one right now on the B stream. Dark Zero versus Elevate going on currently. But this game, I mean, 15 rounds. My eyes are pretty glued to this stream, I can't lie to you, Parker. One more will determine whether we go to map 2 with a 1-0 lead for BDS, which feels like it would be the series, although we have to play it first. Or if Virtus.pro can take their own map pick and take the lead that they wanted. Top floor will be the location from Virtus.pro. They won this bomb site in round 1 and in round 4. In the first round of overtime, round 13, they ran it back for the 3rd time. They didn't find success, but they were very close. Now they're gonna try it for the 4th attempt, BDS. In the short time they had between rounds, they will have known that this bomb site was coming. And for their utility, they brought out the Flores, they brought out the Demos, they brought out the Capitao, and of course the IQ to spot out some of these Valk cameras as well. I like their setup, but it's about execution.
Depending on if this ends quick enough, we might be able to watch some of that Sonics Elevate matchup between maps.
Dark Zero Elevate.
Sonics Elevate.
Is it?
Yes. We cast DZS as
Oh my god, you're right.
You should know this. Unbelievable. Disrespectful. The disrespect. 2 minutes to a conclusion. One of these teams will win. Right now, the drone over towards East is... He's not going in alone. We do have an update for you regarding the other matchup, but we will give it once this one concludes, aka at the end of this round. Some late site setup work being done by Virtus.pro, expecting this BDS team to walk down from East, Jesse.
BDS now having a bit of problems with the clock. They've taken no map control and found 0 picks 90 seconds into this one. They are clearing through office now. They'll realize that it has been given up. Joystick's fallen back to Fountain, so doesn't want to be holding on to that any longer. Still always inside of security. We saw making those angles, but it seems like it's going to be a push through office from BDS. That's been where the focus has lain. Watch out for Posha, once again, all the way back in the northwest of this map, playing on the air room. He's been the MVP every time they've won it. BDS setting themselves up over towards Catwalk, over towards office. I'm really interested to see what this Capitao can do for the midst of the plant. It's going to be a 5v5 execute in the last 60 seconds. What better way to end the 15th round when 2 of the best teams in the world are going at it?
Explosions going off. There's the first casualty. EFAC walking in, slaughtered by Dan. He's below the bomb site, though. So that vertical presence that BDS was hoping for is no more. Always being eliminated by Solotov now upstairs. Demos track going out onto the mute of Shephard. Might he find some salvation over towards a mute jammer? Damage being done now as Bride gets the diffuser to the halfway point. Solotov low on HP. It's Shaiko holding down the fort. He and Uzis doing some serious damage as Shephard answers back with a Nitro cell. Right now, the numbers favoring the French team. Posha and Shephard, last 2 upright. It's all up to Shephard, who gets another kill. An ace clutch? No. Posha had gotten one already. Shephard taking damage over towards Metal, and they know exactly where he is. He needs to find these last 2 players. He needs to hurry. The timer is starting to slip away from him. BDS set far enough back. This is great post-plant coverage at the moment, and Shephard has absolutely nothing going for it. Searching, 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 but not finding it in time. Heartbreak for the Russians as BDS wins their opponent's map and goes up 1-0.
What else would you expect? They were in the grand finals in Manchester. Now they're just 1 map away from going back to the main stage here in Montreal for the 2nd major in a row. Great play coming out, battling back as well. They went down in that first half, don't forget it. Virtus.pro looked like they had a simple lockdown of their own map pick, but what a battle from BDS. They didn't give up, start to finish through this game, always fighting for it, taking it 1 round at a time, and that's what you've got to do in these high-pressure matches. It just felt like they read Virtus.pro towards the end of it. VP, I liked some of the new stuff that they were bringing out. I liked a bit of a new look that we saw, but just towards the end, defaulting to some of their old habits. That's going to cost them in an important game like this. We'll head to map number 2 for Chalet as our second one, Parker. That's going to be an incredibly close game as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I mean, these maps are going to play very differently as well, Jesse. Chalet is shares more similarities, I would argue, with a map like Border than it would with a map like Lair or Nighthaven Labs. There's lots of opportunities for quick pushes. There's lots of opportunities to see setups that we saw from the defenders here. Long range designed to fight back against quick pushes, but there's also opportunities for your glass rushes, your blitzes in the bomb site very quickly, especially on that bottom floor bomb site of Chalet. Both of these teams, great on defense, harder to pull it off on attack. Virtus.pro just a bit too slow because they didn't have an answer for how entrenched this BDS defense was almost every single round. Legions, Arunis, Castles, all their gadgets being strewn about. You need to bring enough soft destruction, you need to bring enough information, and you need to know exactly where to attack from. And when you're coupling that up with Mute being brought quite a lot, both from Virtus.pro and BDS, you're gonna lack information there. It's a constant game of cat and mouse. One team trying to stop you, the other team trying to catch you, get away, etc. It's tough. It was a very, very close matchup, but BDS were just a tiny bit better. And when you get to this level of Rainbow Six Siege, this deep into the playoffs with a spot at the main stage on the line, it really does come down to a game of inches.
Looking back in Shaiko, topping the scoreboard for BDS, and look at those entry kills. Every single opening pick that BDS had were in the hands of Shaiko and Liquefac. 8 total, matching their scoreline here, 8-7 up against Virtus.pro. It's just not really surprising. BDS always top heavy, Brede down there at 5-11, but again, a lot of his early deaths came on the attack when he was focusing the defuse kit. He wasn't having his gun up in a lot of these rounds, so not a surprise to see him lacking. Everybody else though, even or positive, putting up huge performances. On the side of Virtus.pro, I would say the same. I don't think anybody played poorly in this game. Not one person. This was a very high-level game of Border. We saw Posha down at the bottom be the MVP in multiple rounds. So really, with these squads, it went down to the wire. BDS just a little better.
I mean, you can point fingers at Brede, but with the way that he was being used, both on attack and defense, there were very limited opportunities for him to clutch against Virtus.pro, and that's oftentimes where you see Brede really excelling. If the rest of the team is doing the work, then Brede is either going to die and do very little other than drone and utility work, or he's going to die because he's getting overwhelmed by his opponents because the rest of the team fell apart. Brede obviously having a pretty unusually bad match, but that's okay. The rest of the team showed up. What happens on Chalet? It's our second map. Like you said, we'll be there in just a couple minutes.
Ouais, choc-les, choc-les, ouais, choc-les, 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 ouais, voilà ce qu'ils me disent, les entends parler et ils m'étrisent, j'arrête que pour rafler la mise, petit pas sur la piste et le succès je l'ai pisté, disent que la place du premier, je fais monter la côté, sur moi tu mises gros, tu connais déjà l'équipe, ça criera au complot, je prends le double, on est quitte et je fais la magie des chiffres. La somme je la triple, la concurrence la dribble et le stade est en délire, ça fait choquer, j'arrive pour tous les choquer, toute la foule elle est choquée, j'espère que t'es accroché, gauche, droite, esquive rageux, coach m'a rajouté du temps de jeu, dans l'action ouais je me sens en feu, je suis on fire, je fais la différence au compteur, money time ça shoot sur le buzzer, je suis on fire, choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer, toute la foule elle est choquée, j'espère que t'es accroché, j'arrive pour tous les choquer, toute la foule elle est choquée, j'espère que t'es accroché.
Not exactly a surprising first map, given how close it was, but a good performance from BDS has now given them an edge as they set their sights on a 2-0 victory over Virtus.pro. They go to their own map of Chalet, so can't imagine you're in a better position than this to close things out. But as we've seen from a variety of matchups today and yesterday and the day before that, anything is far from certain.
We head to Chalet, which is home field advantage for BDS in 3 separate ways. Number 1, we're headed to the snowy French Alps, which is, of course, the same place that BDS, well, the majority of BDS players are from as well in France. Number 2, it's their pick, as you said, which is always going to favor your team. And number 3, BDS on a 5-game win streak on Chalet, including a victory over Virtus.pro back in Stage 2, a 7-3 game. VP's gotten a little bit better since then, so I think Virtus.pro are going to put up a closer contest than that, but can they win? We'll find out. We'll get into the operator bans. This will be Monty Azami bans from Virtus.pro. They ban the same operators every single game. We're not going to switch it up for us today. BDS surprised us a bit with a Grim ban on Border. I would honestly be expecting that again. It's what they banned against Virtus.pro the last time they played this map against VP. So if BDS want to take with the Grim one more time, they could do it, and they will choose to do so. Probably a Valkyrie next up from BDS, if I had to guess. They don't like playing with that operator. It's one that they often do ban here on Chalet. They know that VP are likely to take out the Azami, so they don't have to worry about that. There she goes. And it'll be Azami for the 4th one. Not even gonna let them, not even gonna give VP the opportunity to surprise me. I know they're not going to. When the going gets tough, Virtus.pro do not tend to pull out shenanigans. They don't tend to throw curveballs. They just buckle down on what they know best.
You expected a Ying ban, by the way, in that previous matchup.
Yep.
It did not come out. And guess how many times Ying was played in that entire series?
25. Shoot, that's a bad guess, isn't it? God.
Jesse, how many rounds are in a single matchup?
15.
In one map, how many rounds?
15.
15.
Yeah, 25 is a good guess.
If there's 15 rounds, how many times can one operator be played?
Only 15 times, Parker.
So what is 25?
25 is a greater number than 15.
So it's a bad guess.
It was a bad guess. I knew it.
Didn't you go to school for math?
I did. I graduated.
With a mathology degree?
I have a math degree, yes. Applied mathematics.
And did it help you in this instance?
It did not.
It did not. Ying was played twice.
Oh.
2 of 15 opportunities to bring Ying, and you thought she might be banned out. She's not banned out this time either. And right now, from the lineup that BDS is hovering over, there's no Ying that's going to emerge as well. Do you think that it's because you're seeing a lot of a Rooney, because you're seeing a higher number of Warden being brought, that Ying just doesn't really fit the playstyle, or do you think there's something else there at play?
I mean, I think it comes down to the attacking style, right? When you're building an attacking lineup, you want to be thinking about, A, what tools do we need, right? Do we need to bring a Brava? Do we need to be bringing Yuto Clear? Do we need to be bringing a Hard Breach? And then past that, you're going to be thinking about, how do we want to execute? In this round, they want to execute with a Capitao, most likely. They can use the Firebolts to clear out the library corner if there's anyone there. There's not at the moment from Virtus.pro, but they can use the smoke grenades or the bolts later on for the back bar player to try to get that push going. These players, just because they don't play with Ying very much in the regular season, because it gets banned so often, might just be less familiar with it, might just not really like that style of push. And obviously the Warden, if playing in the site, can be a huge problem for Ying's, by far the biggest counter. So, stylistic choice and a stylistic decision to jump out on the side of Dan. Will take down Lickyfac for the opening pickup of the matchup. He will retreat safe and sound back into Solarium, but there are still players hunting him down. Most notably Shaiko there on the Solar Rappel.
Trade back now as Usus eliminates Dan, but it's not a trade onto the same player. I mean, Dan obviously got the kill, but it was a bit belated. Shephard now also falls to Solotov. Solotov having a little bit of a quiet first map. He died early in a number of rounds, which obviously will impact his ability to affect each and every round that he's in. Kind of hard to influence around when you're on the bench. Now it's Virtus.pro trailing in numbers. They almost lost always 2 over on Library Stairs. To add insult to injury, he was being death marked, but mute. An excellent counter to the Deimos, being brought almost every single round. His pick rate has been through the roof so far here in Montreal. I don't expect that to change. Too many good operators to ban that Deimos just doesn't make sense. Bring him, use him, find counters for him. Ban out the Monty, ban out the Grim, ban out the Ying, whoever you want. Or even a Blitz, as we've seen a number of times.
Yeah, I do think a Deimos ban is a very smart strategy against BDS, but Virtus.pro, they're too structured for that. Always just sneaks into library entrance. This could be big. If they don't know he's there, he could make a really surprising play. Of course, the Capitao bolts might foil that plan as well. They're starting to hunt him down, and they'll know exactly where he's at. There's the ping. There's the firebolts as well starting to get used. Can they push him out of this position? He's not on a jammer. Great shot coming out from Shaiko. Finds the head of Always. The same moment, Posha fell, leaves just Joystick alone in the 1v4. He's trying to get aggressive, but can't even find one. A clean first round from BDS.
Very good stuff. On attack, on Chalet. Be curious to see what those Chalet numbers are so far through the event, which we can actually pull up in just a second, involving pick rate. We're now at a point where we've got enough information, I would argue, that we can look at the maps and say, okay, this is an attacker-sided map. Okay, this is a defender-sided map, and we can say that with relative confidence. Chalet has been played a total of 69 rounds. Nice.
Nice.
69 rounds, and it's a 50-50 map.
Okay.
49.3% for the attackers, 50.7% for the defenders. That means 34 attacking victories, 35 defending victories. With this win here by BDS, it is an even 35-35. That was the 70th round of Chalet that's been played so far. So, does that mean that a 4-2 half is possible? Yeah, it can be. It comes down to a team's comfort. It comes down to the operator bans. BDS picked this map. There is no presumably better side. If BDS know this map well and know attacking well, a 4-2 half for BDS is definitely possible. That is a worrying sign for Virtus.pro. For VP, you want a 3-3 half at minimum.
Yeah, that lines up with theory as well, of course. Most pros would tell you this is a relatively 50-50 map. One of the better ones for attackers because there's so many angles that you can get from outside the building onto strong defender positions. I would argue that the bans also change the win rate of this site quite a bit. If a zombie gets banned out, as she is here, it tends to lean a little bit more in favor of the attackers. You still have Castle, which is going to be rocked by Dan right now, which keeps that top floor a little bit safer. We see Dan now trying to utilize some of those castle barricades up top just to block off those angles. Keep yourself safe. Doesn't stop you from down below, of course, that they do manage to get a vert pick from down below. Looking back on that west main window, not finding anything just yet. There's the castle starting to get cleared out from BDS. Do they care to clear out this top floor? I would assume that they will. They're starting off primarily on that main floor around the west main part of the map, but Top floor is so important to this bomb site. Instead of clearing over from library, though, BDS are just stacked up on these windows, and it will grant them their first pick.
Nice first entry for BDS. And plenty of time still for them to use their utility, which now will greatly outnumber that of Virtus.pro. Always dying first is not the end of the world, because the presumption should be with 1 minute and 20 seconds into live action. That means through the prep phase as well. Those mute jammers should be laid out all across the map. So we call a passive gadget. Always sets down the gadgets. They do their thing. You don't need to babysit it. An operator with an active gadget would be, say, tuber out, or say a smoke, because you need to be alive to use those gadgets. A loss, obviously, as Mute has a great kit, but there are worse operators that Virtus.pro could have lost early on. Now, though, they've had to extend outwards from the bomb site, sitting over top of it, trying to slow down the advance from BDS over in Solarium.
Fact finds one on a Shephard there. They're still not letting up on this top floor, but it's paying off. 2 big picks, and now look at this. Liquidfac is inside the site. They've also got Bride, who's trying to make his way in through Trophy. Now enters in through Kitchen, can start to get this plant down. Joystick finds the first one for Virtus.pro. That starts to equalize the man count. They're not bold enough just yet to go for the plants, and maybe that's smart, because Joystick has found a second. Now with 3v3, the plant starts to go down.
Bride pulling it off. Yes, in the post plan now for Virtus.pro. VP showed some deficiencies in the post plan all the way back on border. Will they emerge yet again on Chalet? Posha says no to start off with. Solotov down for the count. 2 kills for Uzis. Bride still searching for his first, but it's only the second round. Dancing, Bride tucked into the corner, and now Uzis has to vault on in. He's good enough for 1 kill. No deficiencies this time.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
It's a lot of bullets in the MP7. I gotta say, that thing is gonna continue to go. The server crashed, but surely that round goes to VP. There was 17 seconds still left on the clock when that final kill came out against BDS. Both players from Virtus.pro were in position to be able to get to the diffuser and go for the counter disable. There were no nitro cells, no trickery around the diffuse case that you had to be worried about. I'm no admin, but I just cannot see that round being a replay. That's got to be a VP round. I mean, obviously, it comes down to what the admins decide, but in my eyes, that's a VP round. That makes it 1-1. We move on to round number 3. Terrible time for the game to crash, but at least we knew the result of that round.
We'll wait for official confirmation, but yes, I mean, any Rainbow Six player, even in Copper, would be able to close that one out. 2v0 in a post plant with a decent amount of time, so we'll wait to get official wording on that. You got to give credit to Joystick, who really performed in that second round, had some big moments. The Cyborg, as he's often called, is actually a human from the town of Ukhta inside of Russia, way up in the north.
Actually a human.
He is a human.
Very glad we have that on the record.
Comes from the north, very, very cold. One of the only players in the world who comes to Montreal to warm up and find a slightly nicer climate.
While you're talking about the beautiful sunny beaches of northern Russia, we do get confirmation that the round was awarded to Virtus.pro because they figure that the round would go in their direction. Yep. I mean, it's the right call. Glad it was made. That means a 1-1 scoreline is what we will come back to.
Good.
By the way, most important question, are any of these players from an island?
Only Uzis, who is from England, the United Kingdom.
The British Isles?
Yeah.
You know, technically every continent's an island.
You always say this, and I understand what
Always say this. I've said this one time.
Always.
Which was yesterday.
Always.
No, that's Posha.
That's always.
That's always.
We've got a lot of players in this lobby that have been around for a long time. These are obviously 2 teams who are former major champions. If you include the core of Virtus.pro winning Raleigh all the way back on Team Empire, which I think most would agree that that is the same lineage of players, the same team. BDS, of course, winning back in Jönköping as well. 1 major apiece for both these teams. Slightly different players for both. Obviously, they've had some changes. we would be awarding a new champion if either of these squads were to win.
Don't forget that Posha was at the Raleigh Major as well on Team Forza.
Oh yeah, that was a good time. Crazy that that was a Tier 2 team that made it to the event. We had a Tier 2 team at this event as well. Forza finished a little bit better than CL for Life.
Forza made it into the top 4.
Yeah.
They defeated Giants Gaming in the quarterfinals.
Wow.
Yep.
Black.
Giants Gaming, by the way, at the time was the European Giants Gaming, not the Giants Gaming that literally got beaten so badly in Tokoname just a couple months later that Airwolf actually took their entire organization.
Yeah.
That was in the quarterfinals of Tokoname, where it was Giants Gaming with that European squad going up against Airwolf, the Singaporean squad, which would then later go through a bunch of different iterations. One of the players, Speakeasy, now on Elevate. But by and large, that core has completely dissipated. Lunar Metal has quit. Hysterics is gone. Mentalist is on Bleed, which I think are now going by Bled as a joke because org problems have, as far as I'm aware, left them homeless.
Yep.
But yeah, then Giants lost in Tokoname, and then Airwolf literally took their organization just a couple months later. I think that's the ultimate heist. First we take the quarterfinal, and then we take your org. That's okay, because then that team would later go on to get picked up by Lestreen, who then very quickly exited when they did not get a Rainbow Six share skin. But yeah, that Forza roster was in EU Challenger League. That was around the time where out of nowhere Team Empire emerged and everybody was like, these guys are crazy, right? And then Forza gets Shockwave as he gets moved off shortly before Milan, which was the event that came right before Raleigh. Dan replaces Shockwave at their... Oh. Who? Dan. Obviously beating Evil Geniuses in that Milan final in one of the most iconic and infamous moments in Rainbow Six history, which was the top of White Stairs. Shockwave goes to Forza. Forza makes it to Raleigh, and then they finish in 4th place, ultimately losing to G2, who then themselves would lose to another Russian team. They beat a Russian in the semifinal. They lost to the Russians in the finals, which is where Team Empire won their major. Which is what started this whole conversation, by the way.
I like how you wrap that up. Nice little bow, nice little circular history lesson in there. Full circle. Virtus.pro now, hoping to get a lead for the first time on Chalet. We will be 1-1 heading through the 3rd round. Bar Games will be our next bomb site.
I can tell those stories about the Raleigh Major. You were, I think, 6 years old at the time.
I was at the Raleigh Major.
You were about 6 years old at the time.
I hung out with you at the Raleigh Major.
A very small child. I did not hang out with a child, so I don't know why you would say that.
Okay.
This is fake news.
Okay.
I spent most of the time hanging out with Flynn.
I spent most of the time hanging out with Flynn.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, round number 3, we've got some Bravo work coming out from users starting to hack some of these cameras, of course. One of the most common maps that we see Bravo on is Chalet, as the default cams can be very useful for watching flanks, for catching defender positions. Oftentimes a player up inside a mezzanine won't notice that the fireplace cam's been hacked, and that's really good information for the attackers. They are starting their push over towards Solarium, and so they're going to clear through the entirety of the top floor. They won't find anybody for quite a while. The closest will be maybe Dan on Library Stairs and then Posha up on Mezzanine. The drones are finding that out slowly but surely, clearing out mute jammers as they go. Of course, Twitch, the other drone operator being brought right now. We have 3 in Rainbow Six Siege. Brava, Twitch, and Flores would kind of fill out that category. All good for clearing out different pieces of utility. Talked about that default cam. The drone gets shot, and so the cam will not be hacked by BDS. Neither Twitch nor Brava can deal with that shield that Posha is playing behind at the top of Mez. So they're going to have to find some other way to deal with it. The frag grenades on Shaiko, probably the most likely target to clear this out. Otherwise, maybe like a Capital Bolt, but they probably want to save that for the execute.
You'd figure they would.
I have figured that, yes.
Yes, that's very good. Oh my! Shaiko didn't actually get a lot of first bloods on the very first map of Border. He was not the first antagonist for BDS. First combatant, I guess you could say. Good enough, though, to get on the board here in round number 3. A runaway from Posha as he's hunted down and hounded by those logic bombs. Deathmark also being used as BDS unleashing these nuisance ops. Always to strike first for Virtus.pro. So much more work now to be done for these 3 remaining defenders, as the 4 that still stand for BDS don't even have a single scratch against them. Always hunted down by that Deathmark, and you see it circling around, just sitting in the corner, bobbing and weaving. He knows what's coming. I mean, what can you do? You're just playing to die at this point. You've also forfeited the map control. This is not a great round for Virtus.pro. Shephard and Joystick, as Shephard takes one, Joystick gets the other in a very odd spot. It's all up to Joystick!
Let's go!
But Shaiko and LeakyFac combining for the final 2 kills. Credit to VP for narrowing those numbers down, but a little bit too much for them to deal with. BDS lost the previous round, but win this one, they go back in the lead.
Deimos has been Shaiko's most played operator here at the Montreal Major. He's got a 56% win rate with the operator heading into this series, not including our first map of Border, where he also played the op quite a bit. We saw great use of all the pieces of Deimos' kit there, right? Using those nades to clear out the shield that was playing around top mezzanine, then using those pings to track down the players both that were early up fighting around library stairs and mezz, but also the player that was back inside of library corner. Great entry with the AK as well, found the first pick onto Dan. They really did use every piece of information that they wanted on the side of Shaiko there to clean up through the site. Beautifully done. Again, I'll make the claim, best Deimos player in the world. I think coming into this event, there were 3 contenders for that in my mind. It was going to be Shaiko, it was going to be Doki, or it was going to be Ambi. Doki hardly played this tournament. Went down 0-3 through Swiss, was eliminated last night from the tourney. Ambi's still competing, playing right now, actually, on our B stream, up against Elevate to try to stay alive through the tournament as well. And you never know. The Aussies, Chiefs, have played a ton of this Deimos as well. They weren't really on my radar as a top Deimos team coming into this event, but I'd be very curious to look at the stats afterwards and think, okay, you know what? Maybe there is some good Deimos players down under.
Over on the B stream, Elevate and Sonics still underway. For those that didn't tune into map number 1, spoilers, inbound, Sonics prevailed by a score of 7-5. If you want to see the matchup, not that we want to turn you off of this stream, but I'd recommend going over there with a little bit of haste, as Sonics are ahead on map 2, 5-1 at the moment. And they're actually playing on Chalet as well. So the numbers that I gave at the start of this matchup are probably out of date because there's another game that's occurring at the same time. Sonics, by the way, went 5-1 with 5 victories on attack. So that will only add to the attacking ratio that that Chalet has. BDS obviously winning 2 so far on attack. We are looking at an attacker side at Chalet today. Shephard's just keeping tabs on Trench, by the way. Just peeking out now and then. A little bit of shocking, a little bit of retreating, who knows. Always dies, and again, BDS gets on the board first.
All right, early lead now. This clash, though, is going to be a problem for them. This clash is very common when you reinforce the dining hatch, as I believe Virtus.pro now have, which means that it's going to be very awkward to get around or above this clash. Posha is actually upstairs on the top floor, and Joystick's in dining. They might have the hatch open in that case because Joystick wants to play around here. BDS know this is an important part of the map, so they will be attempting to clear it. In a minute. Shaiko jumped in, but he's not engaged yet.
It's all, how many times do we see the shields? It's like, oh, he's going in. Oh, he's not going in. Oh, he's going in. Oh, he's not going in. Oh, he's not going in. Oh, he's going in. Just in and out and in and out and in and out. It's quite the image, isn't it, Jesse? Stack up now over towards Trench. EMP will knock that electrification off of Shephard's clash. 2 players on the side of VP, stopped by the EMP. Joystick and Shephard now last 2 remaining, and the shields will do battle with one another. It's all up to Shephard, hounded by the Blitz. LeakyFac credited with that final kill, a flawless round from BDS. Is this timeout time for VP?
It needs to be some kind of adaptation from Virtus.pro, whether that comes after a tactical timeout, it will. Being called now from Virtus.pro, the map is quickly slipping away from them. Coach of the team, Zeka, needs to talk some sense into these guys now because this map just has not looked at all like one that Virtus.pro can win. It's been textbook from BDS. They're seeing the strats that VP are bringing out. Virtus.pro are playing really basic standard chalet. They're playing the meta holds, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's being read perfectly by BDS. BDS are very good at executing on this map. It's why they chose it. It's why they have a 5-game win streak on this map. If Virtus.pro can't pull out something to catch BDS off guard, some surprise play, some flank, some new strategy that we haven't seen before, I'm not sure that BDS are really going to struggle against any of the default holds Virtus.pro like to bring. In that previous round, of course, we saw the clash holding inside of Wine. They had the pressure top floor from Shaiko. They had everybody else rushing in through the Wine side of the map. I really like the EMP that was used to make that Clash v Blitz battle very heavily in favor of Bride on the Blitz. Usually Clash is considered a strong counter for Blitz because you can slow down the shield and kite the shield for a really long distance and eventually have a teammate come over to shoot the shield player in the back. But when you EMP the Clash, you can't slow down the Blitz anymore. So it all of a sudden becomes very difficult to play against the Blitz. The rest of the players kind of came in and dealt with everybody else that was inside the site on the side of Virtus.pro. We saw no flanks coming in. We saw no big moves, no heavy roam coming forward. BDS just identifying the problems and tackling them in a very efficient manner. Round 5 will see us on Bar Games.
Spoilers as well, as now we update you on what's going on the B stream. Sonics have moved to series point against Elevate, who after winning 5 rounds in the first map, which was Sonic's map, by the way, Elevate has only been able to get a single round on the board on their own map. Sonics had 2 very close matches that ultimately put them down 0-2, but really they could have gone either way. They could have easily gone up 2-0 and would be in a position to have already qualified for main stage. One of the only deficiencies with the Swiss system is that you only have basically 2 attempts, and then you go into best of 3s in a bad day and it's over. Sonics, a single round away, and they just got the first 2 opening picks as well, so this might be wrapped up relatively fast for the North American team, who are fighting for their lives.
BDS and Virtus.pro fighting for a spot on the main stage.
Yep. Very different expectations.
Very different. Whoever loses this series will play tomorrow for their lives. Virtus.pro have played in quite a lot of those final days of Swiss. They want to avoid that fate, but it's going to be hard with Dan hitting the deck now. Shaiko taking control of Library. They have a different approach to this top floor clear. It's been a little bit less successful. Posha able to trade back Shaiko means for the first time they've shut him down in this game. This feels incredibly strong now. Joystick taking down Lickifak as well. Posha hoping to get aggressive for even more up inside of Library.
But going back and forth, I mean, even Border was like this. Neither team really did start to streak ahead of the other. I guess VP found some momentum at the tail end of the map, but lost it in overtime. This round is still losable for Virtus.pro, by the way.
For sure.
Far from certainty is right now Virtus.pro are entrenched inside of the bomb site. There goes one smoke. Always has his back turned to the big window. Solotov, yet another kill. They have to be wary of Bride. The Capitao as well on the window. Always in Pasha, the last 2 alive. Always engaging over towards main, and it's Solotov with a 3K. Now Pasha giving his position away towards Games. Engaging, Solotov will only find 3 kills. And now it's up to Posha to clutch out. Bride with Diffuser down. Time will run against Pasha. 1 player prone, tucked into the corner by Couches, the other on an upside down rappel. Pasha knows how dire this situation is. Tracers to the corner, and he gets the Capitao. Bride does not position himself well, but now the upside down rappel could be Pasha's undoing. Waiting for the telltale signs of him hopping onto the Diffuser. Usus will have 1 opportunity. Pasha sticking it, but he gets off, and there go the bullets out the window. A jump out from Pasha, no wherewithal. Usus wins the round, and BDS starting to streak.
Another day at the office. BDS still not being disrupted in these plant attempts and in these executes.
I had to push, guys. There is no one out of the.
They always seem to have either an even man count or a man advantage when they head into the late round, and I'm not seeing any moves from Virtus.pro to surprise BDS. They're sitting in sight, they're taking their ones, and they're not winning them. They don't have the strong angles, they don't have the strong guns on defense. It seems like it's always BDS that are walking in and winning those 1v1s, and that has been the biggest problem for Virtus.pro. Where is the X factor? Where is the surprise moves?
We have an update in the other matchup as the replay of that round goes off. We say goodbye to our 4th team here at the playoffs, Jesse, as yet another APAC team will go home. So far, it's G2 in Europe, D+ Kia and Scars, and now Elevate as the 4 teams that have been sent home from the playoffs. Sonics will compete tomorrow in one more best of 3 for a chance to make it to the main stage. As to who they play, we'll await that information later on, but a relatively fast 2-0 for Sonics is confidence-inspiring. Sonics blasting G2 out of the atmosphere and out of orbit, and now doing a similar thing to Elevate. Might be a little scared of Sonics at this point, even if they are still one best of 3 away from losing, but now one best of 3 away from winning and going to the main stage.
Horrible news for anyone fans of players from Islands. 4 of the Elevate players hailing from Islands.
Shut up.
And I guess
about the Islands.
I guess Southeast Asian fans as well, losing their only representative here in Montreal. But for the European fans, plenty still to cheer for.
Both teams that have gone home today have all been from Islands. Japan, Scars.
So true.
They're an island. Elevate, Islands.
The last elimination game will be 2 North American teams, who, unless you count North America as an island.
Which it is.
Okay.
Everything's an island if you zoom out far enough.
Good util usage coming out from Lickback.
Yeah, what do you want to say about that, stat boy?
Castle barricades. The bomb site is going to be Kitchen once again. That means Castle's super important, right? When you're playing on Kitchen, the most important part of the map is above Kitchen. It's holding these top floors, it's holding Master, it's holding Piano. And that's really difficult to do without an Azami or Castle barricades to keep you safe. There's so many strong angles the attackers can jump on and catch you off guard that you've got to be very aware of on the defense. Right now, that's going to be the goal of BDS. Can they set outside these windows and get some initial pickoffs as they have been so successful with earlier today?
Called their timeout, lose the round, though it was a closer endeavor for Virtus.pro. And now they will ice out the entry as the hard destruction. Just one can opener.
And they're just not moving? They're waiting for this to open.
They're frozen, Jesse.
No,
that's
I'm
what
aware,
the point of the canisters are.
I'm aware, but you know, there's not a lot of other movement going on.
See,
while you're killing, while you're
Brede
waiting.
is exhaling, and you can see his breath. That means it's cold.
There's the movement. Shut down by Dan, though.
Imagine if you could fire a fire arrow at the wall, and it would cook the wall, and it would actually make the exothermic charges and can openers and all that go faster.
That would actually be sick.
That
if you
would
could
be
thaw the ice.
If
with
you could.
Capitao.
It's like black ice all the way back in like season 1, and now this one was like melted ice. Oh, what a throw by Shephard. The first 2 kills of the round, both for Virtus.pro, as a very slow attack from BDS. Quite literally, and pardon the pun, being frozen out of the objective has allowed VP to feast on the entrails of BDS. Brede now will drop as well. Goodbye to Shaiko, and a flawless round as Joystick looks like he's playing T-Hunt inside a bedroom. That's the first half in the books. BDS coming out ahead. Coming out ahead 4-2. I saw round 5 on my screen. I was like, what on earth? And then I forgot about the thing, by the way, which is that when a rehost happens, the numbers aren't always accurate.
Mining defense now. Mining defense.
We'll rehost to swap the sides instead, and we'll get this very quickly sorted out between the teams. 4-2 is far better than a 5-1. We talk about Chalet being very 50-50 on the side of Virtus.pro. If they'd gone down 5-1, you got to imagine it would have been so difficult. Now 4-2, there's some hope, certainly with this team. Didn't feel like they did anything crazy on that final round of defense. They simply were winning those ones. They were slowing down the push from BDS, holding their angles. I mentioned how important the window play is on this bomb site, and so many good kills from the windows were favoring Virtus.pro. That Nitro cell that was perfectly arced through the master window, and then of course the big kill inside a bathroom as well. It's those early round picks that are sometimes so important on the smaller maps where there's less utility play to really give yourself an advantage. More often on maps like Border and Chalet, it's going to come down to who gets that first frag. It's going to come down to who can click faster. It's going to come down to who has the slightly better aim to win these rounds and get that advantage.
Mining defense.
Teams can talk to each other, but they can't communicate with their coaches. Well, at least most teams. There was at least one player at one point where did some chatty Cathy's.
The newer teams sometimes need to be reminded of the rules from time to time. Not the case with these squads.
From time to time.
They're quite used to the international stage. Even the newer players on BDS, of course, Uzus and Solotov were quite used to the major stage as they used to play for M&M inside of the European League, had been to multiple majors with that squad as well, so should be very practiced. A lot of people didn't know how this change would go for BDS, but there was a lot of hype when it was announced they picked up Uzus and Solotov. A lot of people called it an EU super team, combining the best of the English and French-speaking world.
So tired of hearing things get called a super team.
I think it's valid for the new BDS.
That's not the point I'm making.
All right.
It could be correct, and I could also still be tired of it at the same time. Both can be true.
So what team do you think is being unfairly called a super team then? Where do you think it's being overused, if not for BDS?
Well, not at the moment, because we've stopped calling things super teams. But I mean, every single iteration of G2 was called a super team, and the results were not super at all.
Sure.
For the most part. Sure. Obey Alliance back in North America, when they had like My Man and Adam and Skies and all that. They were like, oh, it's a super team. And then they finished like second last in North America. And I was like, yeah, that's super all right.
I would call the Sonics Supers team.
I was literally about to make that joke.
We're so creative.
They did have a superb, that's super plus a B. They did have a superb set of games yesterday and today. Very curious as to who the Sonics will play tomorrow for one of the final spots on the main stage.
It could very well be the loser of this game.
It could be.
Depending on how things play out, they will be the same record, so that's possible in Swiss.
3 teams have already made it to the main stage on Friday. FaZe Clan, W7M, and Team Falcons. Falcons doing that with a 2-0 victory over the Australian Chiefs. Earlier today, W7M and FaZe were the first 2 teams to qualify yesterday. Both Brazilian teams. Nice entry from Posha, finding Solotov. Very quick, but his victory is short-lived. Vaults back over towards lobby. Leaky Fac is there on a very small rotate to get the pick. And now losing out on a potential gunfight onto Dan, who was prepped and ready to get that trade and give the advantage back to Virtus.pro.
You're still happy if that, though, if you're VP, right? You cleared a pick really early. You've gotten good map control off this. If Shaiko goes for a flank, though, and gets the man advantage back, they've got drones around Fireplace, so they're really looking to find him, and there they do. Shephard spots out Shaiko on the snow stairs, so they'll know exactly where he's at. And I don't know if Shaiko realizes he got droned out up to the top and blown to bits by Shephard, who hits a great headshot, clearing out the best player on BDS. That's a massive one to be able to regain that man advantage. Now that leaves just 3 players on BDS who are quickly retreating back in towards their site, and above the site, I should say at that. The ultimate goal will be get inside of Dining and plant there. Oh, I think he jumped the Flores drone. It might have been into electricity, or it might have just gotten shot through the soft wall. Regardless, it was not able to be blown up. This time, he will find success, though.
I always feel like such a fan whenever I cast Flores. Osa too, because I really enjoy it. The way that their utility affects these rounds. See how much damage that can be done by a Rotero drone on a single soft wall. It's unusual to see a Maverick be in such direct danger, by the way. All it takes is one rotation through lobby or a nitro cell below, and you're as good as dead. Additionally, not every Maverick player is good enough at keeping their body away from the openings. You can get picked apart. Shephard is a very cautious player. He'll continue to work away on that office wall. Oh, Leaky Fact very narrowly missing out on an opportunity as how many flashbangs get tossed on in, Jesse? Dan walks in, Leaky Fact inside of kitchen, and I guess he can't stand the heat. Shephard with 7 HP getting diffuser down. What a flick from Dan. His reign of terror will end at Brede, but Virtus.pro always gets there, man. Because always got the kill.
Perfect push. They go through the top floor. They win the early round with great droning coming out to spot out Shaiko on that snow stairs after a really good entry on Nook from Posha. A little bit more of that surprise play from VP that you only see coming out of Posha. And then with the 4v3 advantage, what do? They don't commit full to clearing the top floor. They don't risk their lives by rushing into Master and rushing into Office. They also don't need to just rush into site. They take their time with the Maverick, they make those angles, and they force back both top floor players from BDS. Both of them fell back into the bomb site, which just allowed Dan to walk in, find the gap, and hit it. Dan was perfect in that round. He lost the final gunfight, but it didn't matter. The job was more than done. Great shot on the Licky back in the second flick right there to use this. That was disgusting. Beautifully played. On attack, BDS looked very put together. They looked like they had some really good game plans that they were executing without much distractions or disruptions from Virtus.pro. We've only seen one round since VP have been on the attack, but it's been much the same story. Virtus.pro have been very good at cleaning up and executing the game plan on these attacks. If they keep that going through more than just one round, we got a ball game on our hands.
I mean, I do think we have a ball game either way.
My concern is always just the team on defense is going to run away with it because defense can be easier. This is their map pick. Virtus.pro, they might stall out, choke a little bit. We saw problems with the clock on border. If that happens again, BDS might just clean up an easy second half, but I don't get that, at least from the first round that we saw from VP. I'm hopeful that we're going to see a really competitive second half.
I mean, I always hope that. I don't want to see a blowout either way. In a way, I'm a little glad we didn't cast those Sonics games because you always want competition as a caster. I've seen enough Rainbow Six at this point where I just want to tell a good story and I want the teams to live up to their expectations. So far, I think BDS is living up to their side of things. I don't necessarily think Virtus.pro is. Still, it's not an elimination game, so even if VP does lose 0-2, BDS moves on to the main stage. Virtus.pro will have another opportunity tomorrow.
Fact trying to hunt for a move, but nobody's down here for him to find. Again, the bomb site's down inside of the basement, so these top floor players, if they are roaming, it's going to be on them to get back to site in the late round. They're roaming quite aggressively, and the main breach is open, so you've really got to be worried about a rush. If they do go and hit the site, that might catch some of these BDS players off guard. For now, though, they've yet to make the move.
Don't know how any of these BDS players still have their hearing intact, as both a Buck and a Ram create such an awful racket upstairs.
You can't drop here. You're surely going to die to Brede.
With the way, respectfully, that Brede's been playing today, I think that's a winnable gunfight. Shaiko dies. There's 50 seconds left in the round. This is one of the latest opening picks that we have seen so far in this series. Brede falls shortly thereafter because Dan didn't drop, but Joystick took matters into his own hands. Now Dan's positioned over towards blue stairs. There was a shotgun of Uzis pointed right at him, but farther away, he had to deal with Leaky Fac. Now, maybe a belated rotate from Virtus.pro with 30 seconds left.
So late. I mean, he's going to be going, I'm not even sure where, to the snow stairs, I see. Moving over to plant behind the bookshelf under the cover of the last smoke grenade that he has.
Hatch is still soft, or Hatch is still solid, always with diffuser! Nobody accounts for evac inside of connector! Uses still down inside of blue with the final pick. Whatever hope there was on the side of Virtus.pro surely has fallen away. BDS skating towards victory, 5-3 the scoreline for the French supergroup.
And that's why he's the best. Look at fact, ridiculous shots coming out there in the last few seconds of the round. The player was under smoke. I think it was a good rotation coming over from Virtus.pro, but you kind of assume you're safe when you're planting in the smoke, especially when you know there's no warden on the board to stop you. Liquifact doesn't care. Flicks and finds the head and gets the vertical pick. That's ridiculous.
After I'm reinforcing all the other wall for you.
I gotta say, just listening to Liquifact talk, he always sounds so stressed out. He speaks with such urgency.
He does.
But I don't think it's intentional. I mean, there's obviously urgency here between these teams because this is a very pivotal game.
No, you're right. I mean, the stress is always going to be on in games like this. Yes, BDS have a 2-round lead. Yes, this is their map pick. Yes, they won map 1. In some sense, it's lower pressure than other games they've been a part of. But you're still in a high-tense BO3. There's a ton on the line for BDS. The last time they were in Montreal, they were 2 rounds away from making the main stage before they were gate-kept by Spiff.ast. Thankfully for Shaiko, Spiff is not at this tournament. So Shaiko's looking very likely to make the main stage. Just got to get past Shephard and the boys.
First pick comes for BDS. That's bad news for Virtus.pro. Drawing first blood as frequently as they have puts this Virtus.pro team at a perpetual disadvantage, Jesse. Now, drawing blood first does not guarantee you the round, but so far on Chalet, it's been pretty good. I mean, conversion rate, 5 of the 8 active rounds has been won by the team that has struck first. Shaiko, responsible for 2 of those. Solotov, responsible for 1. It's an even 4-4 in terms of first blood, though. Now, obviously, the number goes in favor of BDS. What happens next? Always asserting himself upstairs. Goodbye to Shaiko, who since coming back from the rehost has not been able to do that much in terms of killing. He's playing Legion, an operator that you want to live towards the end of a round or survive all the way because you continue to generate that gadgetry. Him gone means fewer goo mines for VP to step in. But good news for BDS, you've got Liquifact still fragging out. Goodbye to Posha. Joystick eliminating Solotov over in Library. And now Liquifact playing behind the deployable shield at top Library. Will have a target in Joystick. How does Joystick go about this, though?
It's going to be so hard to clear the shield. I mean, maybe you can Selma it, but you're probably going to get shot if you go for that swing. A player sneaking up from behind might do it. Shephard walking up the stairs to mezzanine now, but he's more focused on the bomb site. Knows that there are a couple of players in there that he would love to get a pick onto. Always down in the basement too. That's free. Always finding Liquifact. Now that's a man advantage. He can walk up the snow stairs and start to go for this push.
A good round for Virtus.pro. They haven't had a lot of them here on Chalet, and they need more if they want to send us to a third map. There's no guarantee that we get there. It's incumbent upon Virtus.pro to walk that diffuser in. Joystick with the case in hand. That is an unusual sight. Hold on a second. Always creeping up in the pre-fire on Usis in the back bar. That's 3 kills for Always. Brede completely blind. And how about a 4K from Always? Virtus.pro keeping numbers close. Advantage still for BDS, but it's only by 1 at this point.
The first time Always ever played against BDS was July 15th, 2020. He top fragged that game, going 10-5, and Virtus.pro won that game, Empire at the time, 7-1. That was far back when VP were considered a better team than BDS and would generally win, but still, back when Always was a rookie, this team relied on him heavily to win important matches like that one. Him stepping up once again, maybe bringing back some flashbacks from times of old. He's played BDS quite a few times since then, and oftentimes BDS have gotten the better of him and his squad, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't still have it in him. We've been talking like BDS have been running away with this game, but it's still 5-4. Don't forget, yes, BDS won the first half, and yes, BDS have looked strong on their defenses. Virtus.pro, if they're not being interrupted, can still put together really good attacks. We saw it in their first attack in round number 7. We saw it again in that previous round. Sometimes all it takes is somebody sneaking into the basement, making a play that BDS aren't expecting. If you can catch them off guard, oftentimes that will be where you find success against the French. 1 more to tie, otherwise it's going to be match point for BDS. We still see these players trying to defend the top floor now on the side of BDS. They've worked in with the castle barricades. Despite the Azami ban, we still see this site from time to time. Usually the Azami ban makes it awkward to hold this site because the attack can get a lot of good angles, but Castle does just the same. Great work from Always. The reason he shoots the top corner, by the way, of the castle barricades is to avoid any potential mute jammers. The jammers are almost certainly placed on the floor, so if you can put the X-Kairos as high as possible on the castle, you've got a better chance of avoiding the radius of those mute jammers.
An operator that remained unbanned yet hasn't exactly seen a lot of play, somewhat surprisingly, is Ying. You can hear that first Candela go off. Posha used it to help clear out Library and prevent any of these defenders from jumping upon him. Just as Solotov takes a bunch of damage, positioned over by Piano. Virtus.pro cannot suffer the same fate on border here on Chalet. Admittedly, VP has been a little bit quicker. They get the first pick in round number 10. Goodbye to Leaky Fack. Always is having a sensational game so far.
Yeah, that's the only roamer taken off of the board. Beautifully done by Always. Now they just got to worry about the site players. All four of them stacked up around Solar, Office Master, and Piano. The first one will be Uzis, but protected by Shaiko, and Piano can clear out those X-Kairos. He's facing a lot of pressure. The main window is open as well for the cutoff, but nobody's holding it on the side of VP. They're opening the wall now, and they've got 60 seconds to work a pick before they try to go for this plant.
Shaiko, very ineffective over the last 4 rounds. He goes down at the hands of Dan. Solotov, though, the opposite side of the coin. He and Leaky Fack have been holding more than they usually carry, compelling this team towards victory. Advantage in numbers, though, for Virtus.pro, as they stack up, still on this top floor. Oh my. I don't love this from BDS. Backs against the wall. Candela goes off. There's a Warden in play, though. And just like that, the Ying walks in. Only 1 kill for Uzis. Joystick, an impressive flick over to take out one of those BDS players. Shephard getting Diffuser down as Joystick watches over top. I don't think there's any information here. BDS completely blinded by that entry. 1 player over by Piano. Solotov, with the ACOG in hand, has an advantage when it comes to long-range engagements. He and the mute of Bride will now have to work together, or VP will tie the matchup. And whatever advantage had from BDS will dissipate. There's a swing. Joystick sees it over towards the double door. Solotov hopping onto the diffuser to try to draw them out. He's the only one left. And unfortunately for BDS, VP have too many bodies for them to account for. A good post, a good plant, and an even better post plant for Virtus.pro, and it seems like BDS has called their timeout.
With the drone work and the opening picks, it feels like Virtus.pro have taken over the early game. They always seem to know where the roamers are at, and the biggest thing too is the roamers from BDS, they're often very isolated. We've seen multiple rounds now, players on BDS playing somewhat aggressive. In that round, it was Leaky Fack playing downstairs on the Solus, getting picked off. No ability to be supported by teammates. With that big man disadvantage, it makes it really hard for BDS to claw things back. On a map like Chalet, sometimes it's awkward to get those flanks down. Even when a player like Bride drops through a hatch and tries to get that C4 out, which was trying to get a pick before the plant finished. If it's mistimed, if it doesn't land, then all of a sudden there's just a player that's not on site that can't go for those trades. Virtus.pro are doing an excellent job throughout this game, getting that opening frag, making sure you have the man advantage, pushing with some kind of a favorable situation. This was a good play by Uzis. Had he hit that second shot, I think he would have won the round for his team. But it's just simple trading from VP. It's basics. It's not easy. It's not something that anybody could be doing, but it's nothing crazy. This is standard, textbook, really strong, fundamental siege play coming out from Virtus.pro and from BDS earlier in this game. But sometimes that's what it takes. You know, it's not always glamorous, it's not always fun, it's not always running with a Blitz and a Monty and a Ying. Sometimes it's just trading your teammates, droning out roamers, getting those picks, forcing 2v1s instead of 1v1s. That's what it's all about in Virtus.pro. Ever since we hit kind of round 8-ish, once we got about halfway to 2/3 through this match, I've just been looking really good in that department.
By the way, we just got word that right now, as it stands, the loser of Liquid Secret will play SQ tomorrow.
Okay.
Could you imagine if Liquid lose their matchup against Secret and Sonic's Liquid ends up as one of our final matches for main stage?
Oh my God.
Only one of those teams would qualify for Friday's main event.
You know, in my pre-event predictions, I had both them in the finals.
I mean, I think Liquid is playing like one of the best teams at this event.
Yeah.
The problem is that you never know which Liquid is going to show up internationally.
They do have a bad habit of choking on LAN in important games.
They do. I mean, it is sometimes affectionately used by Liquid staff, but the Liquid choking icon, which looks like the horse, but it's a player grabbing at their throat. It's an iconic image that's been used in esports since the dawn of time, basically. Secret Liquid will be the final match on our B stream. It should be starting, if not now, relatively soon. As for us, we have Dark Zero versus Space Station. The loser of that match will go home. Virtus.pro, right now, positioned very well to go up 6-5, which would propel us to a third map, which is Consulate. It would not surprise me to see all three maps between these teams. It's what we speculated on before a single round was even played.
Again, I mean, I said coming into this round, Virtus.pro, they've been great at droning out those roamers, finding them isolated on the map, and getting the picks cleanly. What do? They drone out roamers, they isolate them, they get the picks, they lose nobody in return. It's as clean as it gets on the side of Virtus.pro. Now, if you're BDS, you're in an awkward spot. Do you make an aggressive move? Do you try to swing? Do you try to equalize this man count? Or do you sit on the site and pray? Neither of them are great options, because if you make that move and it fails, you're in an even worse spot. Virtus.pro don't seem too eager to give them those swing opportunities, though, as they just work on the soft breach, work on the hard breach, making sure they have as many angles as possible when they get to the site. Hatch should still be opening soon enough once these Zoto canisters run out.
I was going to make a comment on that one. Oh my! BDS at this point, just playing to die. Oh, to your point, when you're in a 5v3, usually you need to go for a swing to try to equalize, because just sitting in the bomb site, you're going to get picked off 1v1v1. Another flawless round for Virtus.pro, as now they move to map point. Stealing each other's maps is not what I expected in the slightest. Admittedly, Virtus.pro has been in this same position just an hour ago, and they could not close it out. They'll have another opportunity to win a map in regulation. They squandered the opportunity on border. It was their map. Against BDS, maybe on the better side. I would argue on the better side. Virtus.pro probably have a bit more success here, but is it enough?
You're right about the fact that when you're in that 3v5, you want to be swinging out, but the thing about VP is they don't give you that opportunity. They're not letting you swing them because they're not taking those fights. They're holding the flanks. They're making sure you can't rotate back up and catch them off guard. But at the same time, they're being as safe as possible where they work the floorboards, while they get the main breach open, while they work on the hatch. They're doing all of it from range. They're not going and putting cat openers on the connector hatch. They're opening it from afar with Selmas. It's those decisions that are making things very, very safe on the side of Virtus.pro that allow them to be very cautious and consistent in closing down those man advantages. Something VP have been very good at has been making sure that they lock down those advantages. They have a 71% conversion rate here inside of Montreal when they get that opening pick. In general, you see that stat trend to around 2/3, about 67%, so 71 is quite good. It's been a strength of BDS too. 74%, even better than what we see from VP. So oftentimes, that opening pick can be incredibly impactful with these two teams. Our last round of regulation will be on Kitchen and Dining. And Dan bringing out the Deimos, an operator that we've talked about a lot this game. Shaiko's been so good with it. Virtus.pro have rarely experimented with it. Can Dan make it work here to win the map? He won't be the first one getting engaged, of course. They want to clear out these castle barricades. When a zombie's banned, castle's going to be all over the place. There's the track. It's going to be onto the Solus.
By the way, if you're looking at a big part of why BDS is suffering right now, Brede is 6-20 on the series.
That's tough.
He is 1-9 on this map. I know it's hard to keep track with the rehosts, and I mean, it's something that we struggle with as well because the numbers do change. But Bride going 1-9. Shaiko is 5-8 as well. These are very abnormal numbers for these two players. Consulate feeling like more of a certainty a couple minutes ago with Posha dying for Virtus.pro. BDS looks like they might be able to hang on for overtime.
VP wouldn't lose another 6-5, right?
No, of course not.
Surely not. They've got to claw back the man advantage. The drones are good. That's been a strength of VP this whole time on attack, but the Nitro Cell doesn't care. Dan blown to smithereens as Users tosses that out, and still no trade.
It's happening. Virtus.pro, when given the lead, they're the squishy little SpongeBob. Virtus.pro, when from behind, they're the big buff SpongeBob. Don't ever tell them what the odds are. No, literally don't, because the moment they know the odds, it's gone. They've still got 50 seconds left in the round to close this one out in regulation. I mean, hey, Chiefs-Falcons round 12 looked very similar to this. Difference was it was the defenders with 2 and the attackers with 4, but either way, a pick there onto Bride would have been huge for Virtus.pro. Instead, now they inch their way towards the bomb site. Shotgun of Uses finds its mark, and it's a death drop from Shephard. A suicide drop, if you want to call it. Leaky Fact with the final kill after Uses had picked off the other player from Virtus.pro seconds before, and for 2 maps in a row, we're going to need overtime, Jesse.
We joked about Dark Zero Sonics going to 45 rounds in the North American League Finals here in Stage 2. How we might be able to see a repeat is as these two teams also bring us to 6-6. They had 15 rounds in the first map. They put up 12 more. That's going to bring us to 27.
For people wondering why we have the rehosts coming out, there is an unfortunate bug right now on the LAN build where when a game is rehosted, outside of, say, an even number, the game starts back at round number 1. That's why in a matchup we cast either yesterday or the day before, it was round 11, but it said round 2. That means you need a rehost at the side swap, and then if it goes to overtime, you need another rehost as well to get the right information inputted.
The nice thing, though, is that does mean the rehosts are very fast.
Yes.
Because there's no actual problem. They just need to remake the lobby. So we don't need to troubleshoot anything. It's just a process of rehosting, getting the players back in. So I can already tell you the players are rejoining the new lobby, so we should be in very, very quickly. You don't want to disrupt this momentum, of course, for both of these teams. BDS winning that last round, they've got to sit with it. Same time, Virtus.pro, I doubt they felt like that map was in the bag. I don't think VP have ever felt comfortable in this matchup just because they know how important this game is. They lost their own map pick. They went down early on this map, and now they started to battle back, but not quite enough to win it in regulation. If Virtus.pro win this map and the third, they will not only be securing their spot in the top 8 of the Montreal Major, but they will also book themselves a ticket to Boston for the 6th Invitational in February of 2025, where they will fight once again to be the world champions. They were the best team not from Brazil at the last World Championship in Sao Paulo, finishing 3rd as they fell to W7M on their historic lower bracket run.
The only bomb site they won twice when we won 4-2, it was Kitchen, okay? We almost won.
A number of teams based on global standings have already qualified for that Boston event, by the way. A number of them competing here.
So now,
Cloud9, Beast Coast, Team BDS, Dark Zero, FaZe Clan, Team Liquid, Team Secret, M80, the defending world champions of Furia, Scars, W7M, and Team Falcons have all qualified. There are 5 spots remaining based on global standings. And then you've got 4 last chance qualifiers to see who makes it. It's going to be a huge event, and it's at the historic Fenway Park. I, being from Toronto, absolutely despise the Boston Red Sox and hope that they lose every single game they play. However, as a baseball fan, you have to appreciate the Green Monster and all the history that comes with such an infamous park like Fenway. The venue itself is the MGM Music Hall, not the actual baseball stadium itself. Could you imagine if we just played outside in Boston in February? That would be absurd. Haha, but what if?
That'd be pretty fun.
What if we had the first phase be played outside to really test the mettle of these teams?
I think Virtus.pro might enjoy that again.
They are the only team that come to Montreal to warm up. I actually heard that earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only ones who come here and are quite happy with it. I always enjoy talking with the Brazilians when we go to Montreal. They're not quite as adjusted to the climate up here.
It's funny, when we would have SI in Montreal, the Brazilian players would be walking through the lobby in shorts and flip-flops. And I'm like, it is minus 21 degrees out. What are you doing?
This might be all they own. That's all they need in Brazil.
I mean, I remember the similar thing happened. I think it was with Panbazoo. He only owned shorts because he lived in like a warm climate or something along those lines. I'm not sure, but over on the B stream, by the way, don't miss the riveting conclusion of BDS versus Virtus.pro, as we are guaranteed at least 2 more rounds, potentially 3, and maybe even a 3rd map, depending on what happens with BDS. Because if they win this overtime, then they take the series 2-0. On this stream, we have Dark Zero versus Space Station up next. Over on the B stream, occurring right now in round number 1, Team Liquid and Team Secret are competing at the moment. What a run out that was from Virtus.pro to strike first, and with 1 minute into the round, VP finds themselves with a lead.
That's a huge pick, of course. The bomb site is Kitchen. BDS, you heard it in their attack timeout, or their conversation before this round. They knew it'd be coming. Usus blown up by Shephard. Shaiko answers. And the Zoto canister from Posha just keeping him cold inside of bathroom. The question really still does remain, what can BDS do to regain this man advantage? Shaiko wants to be tracking the Tuberow, but it's awkward because of this Zoto canister. It's making the death mark impossible. You just can't track this guy. He's using the utility perfectly. I will say, you could blind him, but you've still got to follow that up with a pick.
Posha playing all by his own. BDS have more than enough tools to do some serious damage inside a Solarium. There goes the Candela, but it might be a little bit too late. Solotov now hunts shadows upstairs, tucked into the corner. Posha Blair Witched next to the shelving unit. BDS had a bad start to this round, but they have managed to turn it around so far. They'll have to find these Virtus.pro players that are assembled all over the map.
Yeah, they're hunting for Always. He's down inside of the basement, can walk up West Main. Actually, no, sorry, Library stairs. They'll know where he's at, but will they be watching for the flank? He's gonna link up with Dan. They can both try to retake the top floor. If they do that, if they time this really well, this could be round winning.
Deimos track on the Kaid. What a shot by Solotov! Only good for 1. Always trading out most of his HP. In the process, amidst the slaughter down in the kitchen, it's Shephard to falter. Always now. Virtus.pro were on match point. They had an opportunity to close this out, and they might have squandered it, as the opening created is not good enough, and a rare kill from Shaiko on Chalet. An absurd thing to say, but BDS win the rounds that matter the most. They now sit on series point.
How many times? How many times are Virtus.pro going to take rounds that they should absolutely be winning and just not be able to close them out? We saw it on Border, now we've seen it once here in an incredibly important overtime, round 13. Always had the height advantage. He was up above. He had yellow pings on the plant. He had the angle open. But he was too slow to actually stop that plant. He chose to switch back to his primary. That super shorty, it does so little damage, but maybe it would have at least given him a chance to down that player before the plant had finished. It's an awkward call. Had they had 2 players alive when they pushed up above, that could have been it. Oh, the time just not there. Even if he wins that final gunfight, then in the 1v1, he's got a solid shot at it, but God, that one's gonna hurt. One that VP will remember if they don't make it to top 8 this stage.
After I made that comment about opening kill conversions, by the way, the team that has drawn blood first in the remaining rounds of regulation have gone on to win the entire thing. Obviously, it just broke in the round that we just witnessed. The first blood came from Virtus.pro, and yet BDS were so good in that mid-round, and really that's what it boils down to. Virtus.pro, when they're on attack, their mid-rounds are usually quite pitiful compared to their early and late rounds. BDS are pretty even keel across the board. They have been quite proficient at getting the first kill, which obviously buys them a big advantage, but through the mid-round, there's a job to be done for BDS, and they are unrelenting in their ability to do that job. Now, as defenders, you're going to be at the mercy of Virtus.pro's attacks. Does the VP that had some very pronounced struggles with the clock, in large part because of the way that BDS had structured their own defenses, does that VP show up? Or do you see a VP that has been quite good at getting the first pick, sometimes even the second pick? Which one of those are you going to do battle with? For BDS, you're hoping it's the former and not the latter, because one more round and BDS goes to the main stage, and this matchup is a 2-0 for the French team.
Both teams choosing kitchen and dining as their primary site in overtime. That means the wall is going to be worked on early. Do they know where LickyFac is at? They're starting to work on the dining wall, but without games control, that's a risky proposition. The wall gets opens, the Selma charges both complete. LickyFac maybe could have made a move to stop those, but that would have given away its position. Still firm control of the defense up above the site, but that's only going to last for so long. Once the Zoto canister runs out, Shaiko's going to have to retreat. And if Joystick gets the cutoff, that would be big. But again, just don't forget about LickyFac inside of bar. If he has not been spotted and they're playing like they have no idea where he is, then it could be one flank and that's the game. He's walking up the library stairs now. Here he comes for the flank.
T5's easy to control. Goodbye to Posha. With it, Virtus.pro might have just watched their chances of main stage, at least today, disappear. Anything can happen, though. It was VP who got the opening pick in the previous round, and it really didn't amount to much, Jesse, did it? Could the same thing befall BDS? Logic bombs going off on those BDS players. Virtus.pro knows where the targets are. Joystick creeping up. The Tubarão of Shaiko caught off guard. Dan is dropped. Down goes LickyFac as well. Shephard and Joystick keeping these numbers close. Through the soft wall, Joystick makes his own presence known, as Solotov will need to look in the right direction and get hit with the fadeaway, as Joystick still alive, still with a gun in hand. Final 20 seconds. The Russian team desperate for another round. Round 15, anything can happen. You gotta get there first, though. Now Shephard taking some damage. Uses finished off Solotov down as well. It's all up to Bride, the clutch master, who's been quiet. And that silence will be deafening for BDS as Virtus.pro close the gap. And again, we will need all 15 rounds.
They're not making it simple. All 15. The heart rates of these players must be through the roof at this point. This has been so close, so back and forth. It seemed like for sure, with that initial flank coming out from LickyFac, a simple mistake from Virtus.pro, perhaps costing them the main stage. But no, the push upstairs from Joystick, so good. His positioning, the gap he was able to find, cleaning up that top floor. And then on site as well, things just went all their way. Always some big kills down there in the bomb site. Managed to get so much good space for Virtus.pro. We'll have, I promise, our final tech pause of the map. Once again, just need to reset this lobby. It'll be a quick one. You know, when we get these breaks, it gives the players time to sit and stew and think about the situation that they're currently in. You see it on the face of Posha now. Nobody's joking around. Nobody wants to forget where they're at. BDS one round separating them, and the ultimate prize of the main stage where they can fight in the single elimination bracket to become major champions once again. These squads have so much experience going up against one another. They have so much practice. They know each other so well. They've played such a brutally long game already, and VP, you know what weighs on them as well, the fact that if they manage to do it, if they can succeed at a point like this, then they've got Clubhouse waiting in the wings. It's going to be an even longer day for them.
Just wanted to take a moment here to thank all of the streamers right now co-streaming and doing watch parties. You get to hear our voices. Maybe some of you have the casters muted. Maybe some of you are enjoying it with your own commentary. But while fewer eyes might be on the official stream and the numbers might be a touch lower, you bring your communities in, you bring in your own style, and it enriches our scene.
Let's go, guys, let's go.
And more importantly, it exposes more people to this esport. Rainbow Six tries to kind of straddle the casual and competitive divide that exists in almost every single game. And with the popularity right now of this game on TikTok, which is quite incredible, popularity on YouTube, And some of the biggest streamers on the planet right now playing Rainbow Six as well. Organically, by the way, not paid to do that.
Yeah.
It is nice that more than ever, people are being exposed to our esport because the game is in a pretty good place competitively, and the matchups that we've seen so far through the play-ins and the playoffs have been among the most competitive we've ever had at a major event. If there was ever a time for new viewers to see this esport, you're hard-pressed to imagine a period of the esport than right now.
Shout out to one of our streamers as well, Jinxie, just nominated for FPS Streamer of the Year at the Streaming Awards.
Is it the Streaming Awards or the Streamer Awards?
I think it's Streamer Awards. I think I butchered it, so thank you for the correction. If you're a newer viewer who's just watching competitive because you're a fan of Jinxie or one of our other content creators...
I actually don't know, by the way.
I think you're right. I'm pretty sure you're right. Then you've chosen a great match to explore Rainbow Six Siege in. Will it be over? I want to see the third map, Parker.
I woke up later today and got a lot of sleep in anticipation of both of today's matches going the distance. I did not expect all 15 rounds in map 1 and all 15 rounds in map 2 to be on deck, but your expectations have to be dashed from time to time. I don't think G2 expected to lose 14-1 yesterday. Sometimes crazy things happen. I don't think Chiefs expected to lose that very pivotal 12th round and ultimately lose the rest of the map to Falcons, especially with the commanding lead they seem to have heading into that 12th round. But again, sometimes things happen. Selfishly, I'd like map 3. I want to see how these teams will go about it because the single best game of Consulate ever played was between these two teams back in the Mexico Major. So I would like to see it again. Different rosters for the most part, but if you remember that Mexico Major match right before the finals, when it was Team Empire playing up against Team 1, BDS Empire was the best console that we've seen. Oh my, always is a target dummy! As Uses sprints up library stairs, Dan gets 2 of his own. It's all up to Shephard. There's a minute left. What is this round, Jesse? I don't think we're gonna see Consulate. I got a little bit of concerns at the moment.
Hold on.
There's still a shield on the board. That's the troubling aspect. Shephard is the last player alive, and he's got 4 HP. Uses could breathe on him, and Shephard would die. Nitro Cell tossed out. No saving grace now for Shephard. He's going to have to do this with guns in hand. Shield marching up, and that's the ball game! 15 rounds and an 8-7 victory for BDS on map 1. 15 rounds and an 8-7 victory for BDS on map 2. Nothing can slow them down.
Always, I told you guys, always.
The French super team
Time the game.
onto the main stage.